put those on right in the beginning. They didn't come with the car. They went on the car, but the Pasha interior, when I looked for cars that had Pasha, it was blown out, tired, or they replaced it and they did a poor job with the wrong aftermarket Pasha, which looks too bright. Like the white looks really bright. Something looks off about it. And also, as I've talked to our upholstery guy, doing Pasha interior is on 928 seats is got to be and Dave, I was going to ask you about this. He says they're probably one of the most difficult seats because they have all these little pillows that you have
Hey
to
man, I got
redo.
I got YouTube videos up on those seats, man. So, if you're listening and you want to go look and see how those seats get done, just do some search on YouTube for Sunderworks on upholstery, and they are extremely difficult, especially for your year, the earlier year cars. The way they constructed those pillows is very different than they did on the later seats. And because of that damn pattern, you waste so much material that you got to buy a lot of extra material to get the pattern to align correct. There you go. To get the pattern to align
Yes.
correctly on the seat. So there's a whole bunch of throw off on those seats.
Welcome to Full Throttle Talk, the podcast where horsepower meets conversation. From supercars to classic legends, high revving tech to motorsport mayhem, we cover it all. Straight from the driver's seat, whether you're a gearhead or racer or just love the thrill of the open road, you're in the right place. Buckle up, hit the gas, and let's go full throttle into today's episode. So, Paul, I was really happy that you felt comfortable sharing with me that you've been part of a 12-step program now for quite a while. I have to say, knowing you, it doesn't surprise me. And I think it's maybe a good idea that we let Dave know about it. So can you let everyone know about the 12-step program that you actually started and that you're part of that's been so instrumental in your life?
And I'm bummed. I actually don't remember all the 12 steps, but someone did send them to me, which is, what do they say? The first part of a problem is admitting you have the problem.
I think that's the first
And
step.
that's the first step. So, so, yes. Actually, I don't know how much I have a problem, but if you hang around these guys, I think what happens is if you don't have the problem, you get the problem, and the problem is collecting project cars. I think is when I mentioned the subject, I think you and Dave have done more project cars than I have. I have done two, and I swear I'll never do it again. But
I wonder
so
why.
this is a group, and you can find them on Instagram. My friend Michael Gideon runs it. It's called Project Cars Anonymous, and it just says in the tagline on Instagram, "Support group for car addicts." So they do these meetings, and it's funny because it is a bit tongue in cheek. It's a little bit of a parody of an AA meeting, coffee. People drive their project cars there. We had about 50 people there. And they came, it was in the evening from 5 o'clock.
Bro,
There,
that looks totally depressing. I'm not gonna lie. People,
No,
if you're on audio only, it's a really cool setting because it's a Paul's shop, a lot of cool cars sitting around, but the people genuinely look a little trouble.
so, basically to my left there, that's Michael Gideon. He's the guy who's sort of running it. Sort of his co-host is IMSA champion, race car driver extraordinaire Tommy Kendall, if you know who he is, and also a race announcer. And at first, it starts off sort of tongue in cheek. Here's the 12 steps. Don't let friends buy projects they shouldn't, and how to avoid projects. And then they start getting into it, and they said, okay, how many people have two projects? The record was, and it might even been Tommy Kendall. He has 15 projects, only four of them actually running. And at one point, they were in four different states, like not states of repair, but geographical states. And now he's
where
down
would
to
you
two
store them in
states.
California otherwise, right? I mean, my
Yeah.
God, you wouldn't have place
And
to
if
put all that stuff.
I should have put a picture of it, but if Tommy Kendall, from a car guy standpoint, he got famous for that Buick chicken car with the big chicken on the roof of it. Do you remember that car?
I
But
do.
It's still
didn't
around.
he race Trans Am too, Paul? I'm pretty sure this guy's
Race
like a
Trans Am.
massively successful driver.
Yeah. Yeah. Massively successful driver. So they all met. And the funniest part is you realize it takes a turn from satire to serious because I'm sitting over in the corner. This is my vantage point, and I'm sitting right there next to my race car to the left, the blue hood. It's my BMW M Coupe. Has not started. So that was a new car I bought. I drove it daily, turned it into a race car, stopped racing it. So I actually drove it into project status. Has not moved since 17. So they asked me about it. I'm like, no, I don't have any projects. And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh shit, I do. So I started talking about it. Don't forget, this is a support group to keep people from acquiring projects they probably shouldn't. So I said, I haven't started since 17. I'm that guy. I got crap on it. I should probably get rid of it. Like 8 guys, talk about addicts. They go, what do you want for it? Like it was
Of
like a
course.
Facebook marketplace ad in real time, live. And I'm like, oh, and then I start going to this denial, like, do I really want to sell it? It's my longest non-blood related relationship. I've owned that car longer than anyone I don't share blood with. Like that's it. And I said, so then I go, I don't know, 15,000. I mean, the number of erections that were in that room. I got so excited. And one guy was just hounding me afterwards. I'm like, I don't know. I will send you information. Um, and then I was like, wait a minute. We're having this support meeting in my dealership car place. Isn't this like having an AA meeting at a bar? Like, isn't this
Sure feels
wrong?
that way. Now,
We,
obviously, it seems like it's probably a little tongue in cheek, right? I mean, what's the point of the conversations? It's typically, obviously, helping people move forward on these projects at the end. Yes.
yeah, I think it is to help people move forward and look at projects that maybe they shouldn't acquire. And really, the goal is one project at a time. Don't buy another project because you're convincing yourself you need that project to finish the first project when they have nothing to do with each other.
What
So
you should do like what they do for Christmas cookies, where they have like a Christmas cookie swap, where everybody shows up and they swap their. You could swap projects. Oh, by the way, this is Full Throttle Talk, your favorite weekly automotive podcast. And this week we're talking. Our first segment is we're going to talk about what did you do in cars this week. Segment 2 is automotive news. Segment 3, just to remind you guys, we do have an agenda. Most memorable project, which Paul is foreshadowing now. What would you do different? Pitfalls for listeners to watch out for. And Paul, thank you for that topic idea. Very much appreciated. Segment 4, this or that. Pick just one project from an auction site, and we'll decide who picked the best project out of all of our picks. Segment 5, bonus discussion of the 1973 911 RS Touring. No sale, right? Didn't sell on Bring a Trailer. That went wrong. What went wrong at auction? And we had a lot of fun discussing that one off air. So I think that'll be a great one. And then assuming we have time, we do have some questions and some random things, comments and whatnot that we'll be going through. So gentlemen, let's start out. What did you do in cars this week, David?
Yeah, kind of a slow week, actually. We did have our monthly Targa Bar event, sort of what you see behind me if you're looking here, which is out under the lights here at Sunderworks. And we do this once a month on the second Thursday of the month, and it's a typical gathering, Porsches only. A lot of folks come in. We put out some food and have some drinks and so on, and it was a fun event, and we had a decent turnout for a Thursday in January. The weather turned out to be great, so that was fantastic. And the other thing, kind of because we're going to stay with the project theme here, is that we're down the path now. We're starting to cut and weld on John H's 86 backdate, the budget backdate project. So we've got some parts in already. There's a dupe fender. There's a long hood fender that we've got in here. That's
hold on
a
a second, really
driver's
quick on
side.
that, Dave, on that fender.
Yeah, yeah.
This was a debate going when I was doing a project. Do you buy a new fender or do you buy like a really good unmessed up fender? What's your take on that,
We
having done
buy,
these?
we do one of three things. It just depends on what we've got and where we can find it. This happens to be brand new fender. Those are both, I'm pretty sure, from Dansk. Both sides, the fenders will be from Dansk. The hood's from Dansk. It's all brand new. Um, and
How does it fit?
sometimes, uh, so far so good. We don't have too much trouble with that. I mean, plus we've got guys that can work around all that stuff, so we really don't have major issues with the fitment stuff. They'll bitch about it every now and then, but not terrible. Um, the bigger issue is making sure you're buying all the right stuff. So you've got that option. B, find a decent used one, but now you're looking at typically rust repairs, and a lot of times those will be more expensive to find a really good used fender, long hood fender. So again, since this is the budget build, we got to go down the right path. And then 3 is to take the existing fender, the existing short hood or the existing impact bumper fender, and graft that whole headlight, or excuse me, tail light, God, front
Yeah.
lights, blinkers, what you know,
Modify
and,
it.
and
Yeah.
weld that all back on because that's really just cut off from from the long hood cars to the impact bumper cars. So those are your choices, but that's kind of been my week. It's been busy, and
Well,
this is going to be a great episode because we're talking a lot of restoration stuff.
why wouldn't you go
Tim,
with why wouldn't you just do the dance fender? Honestly, I don't
which
understand
is
why.
what we did.
Yeah, I would
Well, I
do
mean,
that too. I mean,
so,
it's e-coated.
sometimes depending on where you're getting this stuff, some stuff is better fit than others. Um, and these cars shift and
Right.
change and flex and so on. So it's really just making sure you've got all the lines lined up correctly. Your shut lines are good. And so we spend a lot of time on all that. So, I think these guys do a pretty good job. And we also buy some stuff from Restoration Design up in Canada as well. And they
I
do a
was going
good
to
job
wonder
with stuff.
about if you have a preferred. We'll get to it later in my project, but the
Yeah, yeah,
fender
yeah, yeah.
conversation was a really big dilemma and something that I don't know if I'll ever go down that path in a project. That to me is my Achilles heel. So
Is what?
that's a
Which part?
is
Going down
dealing
that
with
path?
what to do with fenders. What to do with
No.
fenders. If you have to replace fenders, front or rear, it gets really tricky because that's where the front. I was telling someone the other day, and I don't know if I have a good front end shot, but my first thing when someone sends me an ad of a bring a trailer ad or something, and they're like, "Hey, should I buy this car?" The first thing I look at is right here, where the horn grill, the hood, the bumper, and the fender all meet. That is
Especially on a back date. Yeah.
uh, on backdate, a restoration. That's where it gets really tricky. And I don't know if you've seen it before. When I see the horn grills doing this, you know that there is something not right. And to get that right could be redoing a lot of the car. So usually, especially if it's a collector grade car, that to me is the thing. When I see the fog grills, the horn grills doing that, for the most part, I'm like, I guarantee you I'll find 10 other things that are just not right
Well,
about that car.
but really, that's not the fender's fault necessarily. It's the old ass car's fault, and who knows whether bodywork had been done over the years' fault. So, I mean, the fender's probably right as rain. It's probably the rest of the structure that maybe isn't as it should be.
Well,
Well,
those grills as well. There's so many different sizes,
Yep.
and depending on who's repopping that grill, there's a lot of variance. And
Hold
I've had to
on.
buy a ton of grills.
You just said something I didn't know. There's different sized long hood grills.
Yeah, yeah, depending
well,
on the
short wheel base and long wheel base have different grills. I don't know. Is
Right,
there
and
but
then
different between
I
the long
want to
wheel
say
base?
there's one year in particular too, and I can't remember if it's 68, 67, something in there where there's 4-hole grills and there's 2-hole
66,
grills.
yeah, short
65,
heads
Yeah.
or short
the
wheelbase.
really early 911s. I think
Yep.
65, 64, 65, maybe into 66,
Right.
maybe. But
But those
so the
move around
point
a lot,
being,
and you don't know what you're buying sometimes when you buy them because they're not giving you dimensions and stuff. So you end up buying a bunch of this stuff and it doesn't fit. We've had to actually graft to the side of the grills, um, like epoxy to graft to make the grill slightly larger. This has been on some resto mods and stuff that we've done where you're taking a 964 and putting all that together. And for whatever reason, there's always a space that's right there at the between the hood and that grill. And so I'll show you some pictures offline or whatever. But yeah, that's a funky place, and that's a great spot for you, Paul. I mean, what you're suggesting is dead on, because that's a really good testament as to whether or not the work was done well, or they got the right parts and so on.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
genuinely jealous, even though I don't want another project car, of John's project because the projects, if you have somebody that's going to actually manage the thing for you, are a lot of fun because then you just get to do the fun stuff. You get
you
to
write the checks.
well, I mean, that's not the fun stuff necessarily, but like when I did my project, and we'll talk about it in a bit, I didn't do any of the actual, I did very little of the actual work, but finding the actual hard to find parts sucked. I mean, that was the real work part. It was fun meeting all the weirdos though, that are hidden all over.
including me. I mean,
Yeah, you're the least of all the weirdos, bro. Some of the people I had to meet in the restoration of that car were just extraordinary. The funny thing is Julie and I still joke about those experiences because she went on every one of those, hunting expeditions with me. So you're back to what did you do in cars this week? Did you, Paul? You're next.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it was January. It's January, winter, 65 to 70 degrees out. I drove my BMW 1600 all weekend, part of my physical therapy. It was perfect weather. Pull up to Malibu Market. This just grab coffee and a breakfast sandwich. Um, you know, 275 GTB, and then this 250 short wheelbase competition. Just park there. I didn't see the guys till they left. They just grabbed a cup of coffee, and I mean, it just was amazing. And you sit there, and as much as you know, people hate California. If you're a car guy, oh my God, are we spoiled?
Okay, I can
You know,
almost guarantee you that's a GTO engineering car. The
you
black
think
one.
so?
The two,
How
yeah,
do you
the
tell?
plate.
I don't know enough about it. Do you want? I mean, by the way, so I zoomed in on that for you, Dave. Check out the interior of that 275. It's not
Pretty sweet.
it's like corduroy, but like a
Yeah.
checkered corduroy.
Yep. Yep.
It's so crazy. Here, I'll go back. It's gonna go. Yeah, there's. I
It,
don't know. I
if
don't know
if
how to tell.
if you're listening, well, you can't really tell. I'm only guessing because of the registration. That's all. That's my only tell. But if you're watching, I'm sorry, if you're listening and not watching, we're looking at a very pretty. It looks like some sort of dark blue
Yep.
California 250 short wheelbase, which I don't know, arguably is the most beautiful Ferrari. What do you guys think?
It's pretty damn close. I
Yeah, if
I love
not,
this,
right? Yep.
but boy, man,
Yep.
I want that fabric. I don't know what I want it
I
in, but I
know.
want.
You're the project
Right.
you're never going to do again.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, but by
only
the
for a
way,
Ferrari.
going back to the project, guys, they said, okay, how many guys in the room have parts for the car they haven't even bought yet? And I would say it was 80% of the room had bought cars for a specific car project that they hadn't even acquired the project. And I thought, oh my God, these guys are sick. They
Well,
How
truly
long
have
have
a
you had that
disease.
Pasha fabric, Paul, that you're putting in the
Um,
928?
Yeah, I should put a picture of it. I just got it yesterday. I got it from Sierra Madre. It is the factory Pasha. As you know, Dave, really good. I mean, I think that stuff was $300 a yard, 250 a yard. I'm gonna buy whatchamacallit. I'm gonna buy two hides in dark brown, and I'm finally
So you're
doing
going
my
to change the
928
interior
interior.
color on it?
Uh, kind of. I'm not doing the carpet. I'm gonna do the whole seats and
Oh, that's
the
a
lower part of the
project
door
That's
panels.
car. What
that's
the hell are you
restoration.
talking about?
That's restoration, Paul.
That's another
It's
project car,
We're
Mister. I
gonna
don't do.
call it a
Ugh.
refurbishment, but it's fine right now. It's just tired. My
Ah,
dream was to always have a 928 with Pasha and phone
yep.
dials. Phone
Yep.
dials are pretty easy. I put those on right in the beginning. They didn't come with the car. They went on the car, but the Pasha interior, when I looked for cars that had Pasha, it was blown out, tired, or they replaced it and they did a poor job with the wrong aftermarket Pasha, which looks too bright. Like the white looks really bright. Something looks off about it. And also, as I've talked to our upholstery guy, doing Pasha interior is on 928 seats is got to be and Dave, I was going to ask you about this. He says they're probably one of the most difficult seats because they have all these little pillows that you have
Hey
to
man,
redo.
I got YouTube videos up on those seats, man. So, if you're listening and you want to go look and see how those seats get done, just do some search on YouTube for Sunderworks on upholstery, and they are extremely difficult, especially for your year, the earlier year cars. The way they constructed those pillows is very different than they did on the later seats. And because of that damn pattern, you waste so much material that you got to buy a lot of extra material to get the pattern to align correct. There you go. To get the pattern to align
Yes.
correctly on the seat. So there's a whole bunch of throw off on those seats. So you're going to get. We'll talk some hide stuff after you just after offline, because I want to make sure you get the right stuff for the seats. But
Yeah, yeah, the upholstery guy. So we were laying it out, and just like Dave was saying, trying to figure out, even though it's wider, you have to get these weird psychedelic patterns lined up with each seat. So you probably waste a third. And by the way, here's just a
I'd say
quick
more.
video of the car.
Yeah.
It's just a 6 second video, but there's the hide in the background. See that
Oh,
dark brown?
that's
It's a
great.
chocolate. So I don't know if you
So you're
can
going to leave
see
the
it.
console and the is that
Yeah,
already
because
brown?
the no, the car is already mostly black. It has black
Okay.
accents, light tan. The bolsters are going to be dark brown. The inserts, obviously
Inserts, obviously
Pasha.
Pasha.
The
And then you got
lower,
to
the
do the
cart,
panel in the door as well. That
the
that door
yeah, which
panel
is a
pull out.
tiny little
That's
panel.
easy.
But then at the bottom of the door, it's the carpet, which I hate because it's light and gets dirty. We're probably just going to do black leather there, because the door's already mostly black except for the insert. So and
Lovely.
then yeah, that's it. That's my
Yep.
yeah. I guess I'm a project guy.
Yeah, exactly. So you start, in case you guys weren't paying attention at the start before I hit record, well, actually before we officially started the show, Paul was saying how he doesn't do project cars and he said it in kind of a snobby tone. And now we're realizing he's the biggest project car. He's the one that's actually needing the help the most, the intervention.
Yeah.
He
Hi,
told me
my
at
name's
one point
Paul.
that the guy who he uses has only got a few sets of seats left in him, so he's very judicious on who and he's given him the toughest seats ever. Paul, you're going to take years off this guy's life to do this.
I know he's such a sweet. You've seen him, Tim. He's in our complex 2 doors down, and I do not refer anyone to him. He's busy. Like he
He's your special
squeezes me
guy.
in. He's my guy, and I told him, Juan, take as long as you need.
Isn't that the
Um,
ultimate problem with referring anybody to anybody that they get really super busy? And the next thing you know, you're not getting anything done of your own. That's true with life. And
oh yeah, I,
yeah.
I I will no longer refer my vendors anymore because they like my detailer who's on site. He blew up, and now like I went to get a car done, and he's like, "You're 2 weeks out," and I'm like, "You're here on my property. What the heck?"
Well, what did I do in
Cut the
cars
line,
this
baby.
week?
Cut the line.
What did I do in cars this week? My kart racing stuff finally started arriving. I've got this, and then I don't know if you guys knew this, but it turns out Aart and Senna was actually sponsored by, hold on, Full Throttle Talk.
Oh, excellent.
Wow.
Wow.
So I had to have that
We were ahead
helmet.
of our time.
I had that exactly. I had to have that helmet made somewhere in, I think, England, because there's no that's a large Santa helmet by Snell and the whole thing, but those are super hard to find. I was actually kind of surprised. But in any event, I'm a huge Senna fan. I have been since I watched him race in the early 90s. Paul, if you had to choose one Formula One driver, I know that Formula One's not your main focus, but who would it be? Who do you like?
No, I do like I did follow it for a long time, and no, Rubens Barrichello. He's my guy. I love
Oh,
Rubens.
really?
Brazilian,
Wow.
another Brazilian. So I
Yeah.
what I love about Rubens was it just his attitude. I mean, talk about a class act attitude. Imagine you're a world-class driver and your whole career is playing second fiddle to arguably one of the best F1 drivers ever, Michael Schumacher. And just to be cool with it and just to be so excited to be there and part of it. And every time you saw him in an interview, you never saw like the normal prima donna shit. You just saw someone who was so grateful for being there and so happy and excited. And just seeing his passion and love for being part of the scene. I was just admired that. And he was a if he wasn't Michael Schumacher's, co-driver or number two, he would have been a world champion for sure.
Yeah, definitely. If you had to choose a modern equivalent or a modern, I hate saying favorite driver because we're not talking NASCAR here, but one that you might follow or give two hoots about, who would it be?
Well, the newest driver is Jenson Button, but because I've met him and I know him, but God, um, the oh now his name just escaped me. The
Nobody.
driver. No, it's tough. I liked, it's I do like Max Verstappen for his raw talent. He was immature. He's maturing, but I think he's just got this. I think he could arguably be the best F1 driver ever, just from freaking talent. But I think he's got this stigma because what did he start F1 at 17 or
Yeah,
18? Like some
17.
some crazy young, and imagine being a 17-year-old thrown into that freaking circus. The most watched sport in the world. And I think he had no chance at becoming a normal human. And I kind of wonder if okay, is Alonso still racing? I love Alonso.
Yeah, yeah. He's in his early
Okay,
40s.
because
Yeah.
he just doesn't give two shits.
No, I know. But the new season's about to start obviously in March, and it is really interesting. I'll tell you guys a funny story. Um, so this to start, forgive me for the start out of my story. There's no other way to tell it. So when we were in Monaco, there, forgive me for that part, and we were standing in front of the palace. Oh, you got to forgive me for that one too. So there's all these gorgeous Paganis and fancy ass cars that are just parked everywhere, lines and lines of them. If you ever seen video or been to Monaco, it's spectacular. If you like that sort of opulence and very showy wealth, a lot of Ukrainians, just for the record, a lot of Ukrainians there spending money when we were there last. So you go down this whole row and there's this tiny little Fiat Jolly that's sitting there. Okay, then all of a sudden, Julie and I are walking around, and all of a sudden this big mob of people started going to the front of the casino, and there's famous people walking out on a fairly regular basis. But then it was Lando Norris. And so guess what car, I kind of tipped my hat. Guess of all those cars, guess which one Lando got in and drove off in? That little tiny Fiat Jolly. And so he's driving this tiny little Fiat Jolly, and he's a small dude. And I watched him, he had 100% confidence. He didn't hardly make eye contact, so maybe not 100%, but 90% confidence. Did not care that he was driving the most, I don't know, demure car there. I thought that was really cool. It was fun to watch him do that. And he's got
He was driving it back down to his yacht is really the issue, right? So he couldn't had to have something he could get through the narrow streets.
I'll tell you guys a funny story. So behind, if you're looking at the casino over here, like if you just walk a little bit, there's all these apartments. You don't see them when you watch a Formula One race because for whatever reason, they just don't want people seeing. They built land. They, essentially built a place where they could build these condos that were out on the water. I don't know how else to describe it. So these places all have garages, and they're ridiculously expensive and whatever, everything you'd expect them to be. They're right on the bay. Verstappen went and bought like 20 of the garages. So he went and bought all the freaking garages because I know Lando, because Lando's brother Oliver sold us our racing simulator, and Oliver told me about all of Lando's cars, and Lando has a killer collection. So these guys keep all of their Formula One cars outside of Monaco, and it's various storage places, and have people bring them in when they want to drive them. But in any event, that's my whole I don't remember got me started on this.
Did you ever remember that video when Kimi Räikkönen crashed at Monaco? I mean, it's one of my favorite. Have you seen that video where he just doesn't walk back to the pits? It was such a Kimi Räikkönen thing. He crashes and he realizes I'm closer to my yacht than I am to the pits. F this, hops a fence. Yep. And then while the race is still going on, remember cameras were shooting him and he's sitting there with his buds, he
just walks to his yacht and like, whatever.
The race is still going on. He's drinking a beer. Oh, it was great.
Do you guys think are you excited about Audi and Cadillac getting into F1? Do you think that's really going to make a difference? I think it's going to be
interesting. I think the more manufacturers get into, I would love to see Porsche building engines. The more manufacturers that get into F1, what that means is whatever that technology is, alternative fuels, remember KERS, all these different things, they do trickle down to sports cars and eventually everyday cars. So F1 is sort of a feeding ground of automotive technology. And if the main manufacturers are actually providing, running cars, they have firsthand access to that stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Plus, it just keeps broadening the audience of loyalists, more teams, more fans. Yeah, definitely. That sport is exploding here, obviously now in the US for sure.
Did you guys have a chance to watch any of the videos that were pouring out of Japan about all the Tokyo Auto Show and all that stuff and CES and all these crazy cars that I didn't even freaking know about? Did you watch any of those, Paul? Did you watch any of them, David?
No.
I certainly saw some of the Tokyo Audio Show stuff, specifically around the Nissan, the Z, which I know Paul's going to probably mention here in a bit. So
yeah, let's pop off to automotive news unless you guys have anything else in this.
Yeah, well, one more thing, Tim. I listened to your podcast with Caleb with RYN, Caleb. And great podcast if you haven't listened to it, because I hate listening to our podcast, but I don't mind when I'm not on it. So it's fascinating. The first thing I thought of is if I was younger, less fat, I would definitely get one. Because they seem attractive. But what is it? I know there was a Founders Edition. You got to order a Founders Edition, and what does that mean?
Arrival next summer versus arrival next spring. So
okay, but is there any difference between, like, do you get something different? Do you get color? Is that do you get a livery? Do you get a color? How do you choose?
Well, so he has got a Founders Edition livery already chosen, but you can do pretty much whatever you wanted to do.
And by the way, for those who are listening, not watching, Tim did an interview with Caleb, who's the owner of RYN Ryan Motors, which they're building basically a street legal Formula 3000 car, Formula 3 car,
Formula 3 car, yeah.
or a three car that's a three-wheeler that can become a four-wheeler, and it can be legal in all 50 states. And it basically looks like you're driving a mini F1 car on the street, which is pretty rad. And listening to, I think those are the motorcycle engine powered ones. Still, the weight to horsepower is ridiculous. And
It's 1180 horsepower. Thank you for bringing it up. It's 1180 horsepower. It's the freaking motor,
God.
which I'm really looking forward to, is 13,000 RPM. You know, crazy rev limit. And he said it's a 220 horsepower. So you're talking about something that's going to be blisteringly, just ridiculously fast.
and it's going to weigh 1,100 pounds.
I think it was,
1,200
I think
pounds?
I'm remembering 1140. I don't think he actually knows for
Jesus.
sure yet. It depends. Like I'm showing right now, if you guys are listening, I'm showing a picture of this thing. By the way, you can just go to RYN Motors. The spec site is up and you can choose different colors of wheels and things like that. But he's starting to get into like whether you want a carbon fiber wing or carbon fiber, this, that, and the other thing. And none of his doodads are that expensive. Like the back wing, I think he's got it at $3,500, and that's a big old piece of carbon fiber. So if you look at the whole project, the whole product from, you know, soup to nuts, it's $80,000, and there's really not that much you can really add to it. And I talked to him yesterday actually for quite a bit. I'm excited about the product too because A, I think it's a cool project. B, he is a total implementer. The guy's a total operational guy. He's not a real techno nerd who's going to take forever just to choose silly things. He's getting this into production. He had another business that he built that he sold. And he's 28. He's frankly financially independent from the sale of his first company. And he's crazy passionate about bringing this thing to market. He's one of those guys where like there's zero chance he won't be successful with this project. But honestly, what do you guys think about the take rate for something like this? And I've got some of his numbers, but I won't share.
I think he will sell as many as he can make.
I agree with that.
Interesting. Do you guys really
How
think
many can he
so?
make?
He can make he can make a shit ton, honestly.
And here's the thing is, as much as this is cool for the US market, I think the market where he will sell it to will be more outside the US.
Paul, did
Even
you
though
have a
it's
chance?
really cool here.
I know you're connected through the podcast and obviously socially through a ton of people. Did anyone else remark on that car? Did you get any feedback from anybody else in general? I'm just sort
No,
of
I hadn't.
curious.
Yeah, I think it just came out. No, I didn't talk to anyone else about it, but hopefully they'll hear the people who hear this will
Listen to the one, yeah.
go back and yeah, because I
So
mean I
where's this
haven't
one
gone
going to live,
I
Tim?
haven't when I
Sorry.
listened to it, I don't think the configurator was out yet. And I do want to go in there and configure a car just to see what it's like.
You should. And it's going to be, he doesn't have any interior pictures, but he does have pictures of the seat. And the seat in particular, I thought was interesting because it's very, very padded. You know, it's clearly the only thing I could really, if I were to bitch about something on this car, and I'm going to set aside the safety things and all the rest of it, is there's no, like, I'm not sure what the ground clearance is. In Austin, where he lives, he has a steep driveway. Pretty much all driveways in Austin are steep because when it rains like a tsunami. And so it's easy to have flooding. So you always build your house up. And so every driveway hits the street at an odd angle. He said if he takes an angle, he has no problem clearing the end of his driveway. So who knows? But there's no lift. That's the only thing I can bitch about. But other than that, it's just freaking brilliant. And for that money, what the hell else are you going to get that's going to be as cool as that? But who's buying that?
How much? So radicals aren't legal for the street, right?
No, you can't put a radical on the street.
So your choice of that thing is you have either like a Exocet, which is a weird kind of white trashy thing, which is a Miata with like isn't a Miata basically with a tube chassis, or you have the one
There's
you
quite a
used to
few.
have.
There's the Ariel Atom. There's the I always forget the name of this beautiful one that's out of England, but they're
I mean,
like,
how much are those things going for? Like the average?
well,
What's this?
an Ariel Atom all in, if you go to their site, you can spec it yourself, is probably around 100 to 110 grand. And I think they've got a wait list of a couple of years. And you'd want an Ariel Atom 4. But you know, how do I say this? I had an Ariel Atom and it was a crazy fun thing. Everyone should at least drive one once, let alone own one. But it's not beautiful. I mean, the thing looks like it's an erector set on wheels. It's just beastie looking. That thing that Caleb did, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like an F1 car, baby F1 car.
Yeah,
And at the very end, he mentioned that he's going to have a F1 car size
Yeah.
which Dave, get this, it was going to be like 1,600 pounds and 650 horsepower. Wasn't going to
Yeah.
be a V8. I mean,
He didn't say. I don't think he knows yet. But
it,
Would he
it's
do that the same way with the single wheel so we can get it licensed
well,
as
so
a motorcycle first?
I appreciate you guys showing interest in this, as I spent a lot of time talking to him. So his plan is that the initial 30 cars that he's got that he's going to try to get out to influencer types, automotive influencers, but really, influencers, people have automotive followings. It's going to be all over Instagram and whatnot. Those initial 30 cars are going to all be four-wheelers, and he's going to get them, what I forget, that small vehicle production thing, SB100.
special SP100 S specialty construction.
Okay, which in case you guys don't know what that is, I don't remember the total number of cars that a small manufacturer can make per year. Isn't it like 350? Do you guys remember?
Yeah,
I don't.
I
I thought it
don't,
was
but
less
it's
than that.
definitely under 500.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they don't have to deal with all the normal crash stuff and all the rest of it. So his initial batch of cars is going to be that way. And then I'm going to put up another picture. The next batch of cars are going to be sold as three-wheelers so they can be easily licensed in all 50 states, because a three-wheeler doesn't have to, you don't have to have a motorcycle license. And I think you have to have a plate on it, but essentially getting that thing on the road is going to be really easy. Convincing a cop that it's illegal is going to be a different conversation. But along with that, it's going to basically ship with the kit to convert it to a four-wheeler. So you'll have, in essence, be legally buying a three-wheeler, but in your own driveway, supposedly, you're going to be able to convert it to a four-wheeler and then essentially have that. And I mean, some people might stick with a three-wheeler just because it'll be kind of a unique thing, but most people, I'm sure, will go with the four-wheeler.
No, I'd like the
Oh, for sure.
four-wheeler. That
Well,
would be sweet.
and he said it was like you could, if you're fairly handy, it was like a 3-hour conversion.
That's what he said.
I was picturing like,
Well, I'm thinking to myself, 3 hours is a major project if you know, and that's if you know what you're doing. So that's like a long weekend. That's a six-pack job.
So it's called, by the way, just looked it up really quick. It's Low Volume Motor Vehicle Manufacturer Act of 2015, up to 325 cars.
Okay, there you go. So
Here.
that's it's called, that car in particular is called the FP3, which is free practice 3. That's where he got it. That's a racing thing. And then he is going to come out with a Formula One car, but it's going to be really brilliant for the price, for the experience that it'll deliver. I don't think it really has any competitors, which is really, really freaking fun. He will be successful at this. I already know his pre-order count, and it's a lot more than I would have expected, to be honest with you. It's huge. So he's going to be sold out of probably his first 2 years of production, I guess. I would almost guarantee within the next 60 days. So
His the F1, when he comes up with the F1 size, the name can be Quali One.
yeah, that's not actually a bad idea, honestly. Well, anyway, so I thought that, yeah, that is something I'm interested in July of next year, I think he said, but give him some grace. So maybe it's the end of the year, who knows? But yeah, to answer your question, David, that's going to end up at your shop because you're going to have to put the rear wheels on it.
Oh, I love that. That's made my day right there.
Actually,
That's
I'll tell you what.
fantastic.
I'll tell you what I was thinking about doing is getting a blank slate one, a white one, and then we do Full Throttle Talk stickers on it and whatnot.
Oh, I'd love that. That'd be
Wrap-
cool too.
wrap
I got a
it.
good rap guy here locally, so
Totally,
that's no
but
problem. We can
you
do
guys
that.
think about this. What automotive influencer? There's a whole automotive influencing game. Those guys are like rabid dogs trying to get clicks, That is going to get more clicks than any freaking new Bugatti is, in my opinion. And it's 80 grand.
Yeah.
Did he tell you what influencer? Any idea who's getting that? That's the first thing I thought of.
So he did, and unfortunately, I don't follow any of them. So I
Okay.
didn't know any of the names.
Would
I just played along.
like Joe Rogan,
No. Like some of the
the
you guys
younger
are-
ones.
I've learned so much in the last 90 days about this whole automotive influencer thing and trying to understand, for the sake of our show, how to essentially expose this to more people. And just to summarize, I am disappointed and shocked by how little actual I'd say influential automotive influencers. If you look into their past production, they were like marijuana influencers a year ago. And then before that, they were like freaking, gardening influencers or who the hell knows what. So what these guys are doing, and God bless them, they're marketers, but they're looking at the YouTube algorithm. They're seeing what's getting the most views and what pays out the most amount of money. And then they're making themselves into whatever it is that, where they can make money. And that's the vast majority of these automotive influencers. And it's so freaking competitive. Most of these guys are going broke. So, for what it's worth, we just stay true to our audience and stay true to what we have passion in. They'll find us. And if they don't, well, we have a nice time talking with each other.
To hell with them, then.
All right. So moving on. And what did we do? I think
Automotive news.
Automotive news.
Why don't you go first, David?
Well, I'm sure you guys all saw this because it got picked up everywhere, but I was shocked, and we've been discussing this whole move toward Radwood and what's happening with these cars from the 90s, and early 2000s and so on. And this thing blew my mind when I saw the number that this 98 Toyota Supra Turbo went for. I think the car had really low miles, less than 9,000, something like that. And this car sold for $242,000 down at Kissimmee, at the Mecum auction down there over the weekend. And I'm just blown away by that somebody would pay that kind of money. Back when these cars were, this was at the end of the cycle for this particular version. And I'm not a big Toyota guy. So it just kind of falls into a spot for me age-wise that I was on to other things when this car came out. But it's a beautiful car.
Have you guys ever driven one? Have you ever driven one?
I've never driven one. No, I've not
either. Have you, Paul?
Yeah, it didn't count though. It was like a non-turbo automatic. It was, but here's the thing is, I do know people who have them, and the reason they modify them isn't because they're capable, because that straight six motor, you can put 1,000 horsepower. They're way overbuilt. It's because in stock form, they're kind of boring. They are truly a GT car. They're not like overwhelmingly fast. They're heavy. I don't know what the weight is, but they're pretty heavy. I think the best part about it, I don't know much about who designed it or the design process, is they're beautiful. In period, they're beautiful and they've aged really well. They're very iconic 90s, sort of soap bar look, real slippery. But I don't know if you guys saw, it was all over the, social media. I don't know what Cars and Coffee it was, but a guy in a white Supra that looked like that crashed. Did you see that? I don't think anyone was hurt, but it was like literally on the foottail, the coattails of that thing closing, one that looked just like it had this, leaving Cars and Coffee, losing control, going over the median, crashes, hits a Toyota Prius on the other side of the road and crashes into a Toyota dealer. It was pretty funny. It was convenient. And the comments were great because it just was such fodder for them to make fun of it.
Well, you guys are all choosing Japanese cars, which is really cool as far as part of your automotive news update. But I'll suggest this maybe for a future topic if you guys want to chew on it. The direction that the European car manufacturers seem to have gone is not the direction in which the buyers wanted them to go, and I'm talking EVs. And if you look to see where the consumers seem to be gravitating towards, or if I were to predict where they're gravitating towards, is the car you're about to talk about, which, Paul, is freaking gorgeous, the new Nissan. But also these freaking Toyotas that are coming out. Oh my gosh, guys, the GR Toyota freaking onslaught of these badass cars that are not going to cost a ton of money. It's incredible. And so, you look to see the automotive landscape. If I were looking to buy a car, you're all of a sudden thinking about Toyota and not in the sense of making fun of a brown Camry that plagues the roads everywhere,
Right. Well, if you want a sports car or something sporting under $75,000 with a manual,
it's just freaking Toyota. It's awesome.
That's kind of it. There's really a few Japanese manufacturers. I'm trying to think, is there anything from the US domestic that you can buy under $75,000? It's fun with a manual.
Corvette.
Maybe a Mustang.
Not
a Corvette. Maybe a Mustang.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Collective. Yeah. But yeah. So ultimately it's, if you were to think, for example, of a Porsche that you're excited about, there's a few of them, but new Porsches coming out in 2026 that aren't ridiculously expensive. There isn't anything. And if you start going, there's this cool Subaru, but it kind of looks crappy. It looks kind of boring. Toyota is going to absolutely hand the market its ass with these cool cars. No freaking EVs, no freaking hybrids, manual transmissions. Again, like Caleb's car, I really do hope this kicks the door down for manufacturers getting back into making really badass cars. I hope.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. And I mean, how many of you were you guys surprised that Nissan was coming out with a new iteration of it? Because
I was.
I didn't feel like the first one really landed well. I mean, I love the idea. Was it because it was so based on the 370 that it just seemed like a
Didn't look
facelift
good.
370?
It
I
didn't
don't.
look good. I
No,
agree with David.
this car looks
So
so much better,
Oh
so
my
yeah, I
much
gosh.
mean,
more.
Yeah.
this looks just like the old 240Z. The only thing I really don't like is that silver. I don't understand. If you
Line.
look on the going on the roof line to the C pillar, is that silver stripe thing? I don't know why it's there. It just sort of looks like,
Did you
I
see
don't
the
know.
design study that somebody did? It was on Instagram. Did you guys see it where they're showing the 240 like over the generations and how that design in particular was taking design cues and including that exact roof line from the original 240. So they're emphasizing the roof lines. So that's not just that might just be a reskinned, old Z. But if you looked there's no panels that are shared. Everything about it is completely different. So that car right there, that's a gorgeous car. That car in a
Mm.
Nismo version, that will be a badass car. If they put like 425 horsepower behind that thing,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what's cool about it, besides they really updated the design, they refined it, and they really, I think, made it beautiful. The good news is it's getting, they're still going to offer the manual. The manual will be coming out on the Nismo. This car will hit Japan in this summer. And they said it should be towards the end of the year in the US market as a 27 model. The color's called Unryu Green, which is homage to their heritage, whatever they raced in. But the biggest thing is upgraded suspension, bigger brakes. I think it's going to have some different mechanicals, upgraded, bigger turbo, faster. But I'm most excited this as a Nismo. But curious to see what the price is. Is it going to be 80, 85,000? I don't know what the new Nismo is now with the paddle shift, but
but
is it somewhere around there?
look what's happening, guys. We're finally past this whole force everyone to buy an EV phase of automotive. We're coming back. Everyone's coming back out with a manual transmission. Corvette's supposedly doing it with the new Grand Sport. You got Toyota bringing out these cool cars. Subaru's bringing their STI out. We're finally getting back to manufacturers listening to what the consumers want and not just running fear of whatever the hell they were running in fear of before. I'm not sure if they were making decisions that were based on consumer demand or based in decisions based on social pressures. I'm not really sure, but who cares? We're getting back to badass cars.
Yeah,
That's
true.
good looking for sure.
Yeah, I think that's not just good looking. Whoever designed that, do you guys think of another? Could you show that again, Paul? Think of another modern car that looks that good just immediately. Uh, Ferraris, that looks better. That looks really good. So in any event, all right, I'll share my automotive news. I was very
Get
interested.
ready, Paul.
I know it's
No, I'm not going to talk Corvette. I'm going to talk Alpina. You guys didn't see my
Okay.
notes.
okay,
Okay.
good. Okay,
Aha.
good.
All right, so I was very interested in about this whole Alpina thing, and I didn't really understand it. So Alpina and BMW finally merged. I thought they already had, so I didn't know about that. I ended up writing an article. I think I shared it with you guys, but it's going to be in the Full Throttle Talk newsletter. Oh, by the way, if you guys aren't subscribed to the Full Throttle Talk newsletter, please do so. And for gosh sakes, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're just watching us and you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe. And the party continues on in our newsletter where we all write very, people seem to really love our content. We have people that just read the newsletter and don't even watch or listen to the podcast, but it's free. It's fullthrottletalk.com or click the link below. And please do like and subscribe. We need Casey to say, smash the like button. He did that with such insincerity. It was awesome. Yeah. So Alpina, what they're doing is they are going to be doing restorations, which I guess they have been doing, but they're going to be scaling up the restoration on Alpina built Alpinas. Like mine's a customer built Alpina where the guy in Germany went to the Alpina, dealers and put together his Alpina. That's my B6. But so Alpina wouldn't restore my car, but a real B6 that was made by them, which, they have a registry of, even though mine has an Alpina number, who knows, they probably would decline restoring my car, but the original ones they're going to restore. So I think there's 4 cars that they're restoring. And I thought that was pretty cool. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
totally.
it's cool, but I think they should restore. I think and you answered my question with your newsletter when I read it.
Hmm.
I think they should be able to, you find a really clean E30, you've always wanted an Alpina. You should be able to send it to them and have them build an Alpina. I don't care about the number, and the number stuff has always been stupid, but I don't know if it's capacity or hubris or why they wouldn't build a new Alpina. But that I think they should do. Otherwise, I love the idea of it.
Yeah, I was really excited when you suggested that they're going to be allowing people to, ship them an E30 and make it into a, an original Alpina, whatever. But that was definitely not in their plans from what I've read. But who knows? It might change based on consumer demand. Why do you think they're doing that? Well, here's ours. Why do you think BMW is doing that? Why do you think Alpina is doing that? Why do you think they're essentially putting focus on these old Alpinas, which in the best of times were just super nerd cars?
Trying to dig deeper into the heritage of BMW, which seems to have lost its way from a
Mm.
current position, and not any different than Porsche and other brands. They're trying to pull from that history where people were passionate and bring that forward into today's buyer and create some more passion around BMW.
I mean, I think that's part of it. I think part of it is building modern cars for modern global standards and laws. I think for Alpina is becoming less fun. It's harder, and I think what Alpina enjoys is suspension tuning, building the hot rod stuff, and it's getting harder for them to do that with a new car. And I think this sort of just frees them from the shackles of DOT and global emissions and CAFE standards and all of that crap that makes building cars not fun. And they get to go do the stuff that really got them excited. And I bet you can still buy your new M3 and go, buy an Alpina suspension. I was listening to a podcast about the Z8, and the trick thing with the Z8 is you buy the Alpina suspension on the non-Alpina, and it just makes the car magic. And I think that's what they really, really like doing, and they just don't like building modern cars, and let BMW go do that.
Yeah. Well, so the next question will be Alpina wasn't really building true performance cars for BMW. They were building more almost luxurious cars with a lot of extra doodads and whatnot. And maybe they'll get back to making true hot rods. Who knows?
But I mean, if you think about it, they never really built like true, like roof light your hair on fire hot rods. They built these like Autobahn beasts that were meant to go 190 miles an hour. I think their target market were always mature executives. They weren't as much of I want 0 to 60 times. It was more like top speed, comfort, luxury, performance, handling, but not, not a I don't think Alpina ever was like serious canyon car. It was about big horsepower for big top speed. That's my impression.
That's speaking of big horsepower for big top speed. The next car, okay, I'll see you when you get back from your break, Paul. All right, so the numbers finally came out on this thing, which is ridiculous. Now, granted, this is from a drag strip. Paul is expressing his disdain for Corvettes. And I'll go through this quick, not to torture you guys, but it is interesting. Mr. North Carolina and I will appreciate this. The Corvette ZR1X numbers finally came out. It's 0 to 60 in 1.67 seconds. Now, granted, it's on a prepared drag strip, so who knows? I don't know. That's puke-inducing, but here's what I think is really fascinating. It's 1,250 horsepower, but that's a 20%, 189 horsepower to the front from the electric motors. That's 1,500 horsepower if you're assuming a 20% drivetrain loss to the crank. What do you guys think about that? What the hell is going on in the world that you could buy, in essence, a 1,500 horsepower Corvette for $235,000 that will absolutely eviscerate virtually anything else from any price range made by anybody on planet Earth? Paul, you first.
Who cares?
Do we have to do this again?
Who really cares? I mean, it's like, yes, it's really fast. Yes, it does all these things. But no, thank you. I will never buy one. I don't want one. They're ugly. They look like
okay. Dave, what do you think?
Bad day at McLaren.
Obviously, all these things, all these times, all of this stuff is all built around, being the first, being the best, being for whatever period of time. So we all like the fact that it raises the bar for every other, manufacturer to come out with something equally as cool or equally as fast. I don't know where it stops, right?
Do you think they will, though? I agree with what you said. It makes perfect sense. Do you think that's what's going to happen? Do you think the other manufacturers are going to try to compete with that?
No.
How can
Well, they
they?
already do, right? They already do. They're running Ford
Look, what is
GTEs and
I love your
around Nuremberg and all that, right?
I
I
love your
mean,
car. I love your GT3 RS. And if I were in the market, if I frankly could spend more time with it, that's what I would definitely get. But your car's got 520 horsepower, something like that. This
yeah,
is
it's never going to win in a straight line for sure.
it's not going to win even on the track. And I'm just
Well,
wondering,
okay.
well, I mean, I'm just stating facts. I don't want to piss you off, but I mean,
Oh, you're not.
your car gets left in the dust, on virtually any track compared to the new ZR1, no, let alone the ZR1X.
Not the same class. Like it's a Z06 competitor.
Don't mess with me. I'm trying to make him
Have
mad.
to.
I'm trying to agitate him.
We've been down this path.
I
I mean,
know,
but
I know, I know. But look, I'm not disagreeing with you, but really at the end of the day, it really does come down to the fact that you're right. They've risen the bar to the extent that I don't think anyone's even going to try to compete with them. And so where will they go to try to differentiate themselves? And let's just be honest, Porsche and the GT3 products, unfortunately, have been a little bit asleep on the wheel. They should have come out with a 4.2 or a 4.4. They should be making more horsepower. The cars don't have enough torque. These are all true statements based on if you've driven all the other modern cars. It just, but I would probably still buy an RS, your car. When you're done with it, you'll message me first. So
Sure,
that's all I have to say
absolutely.
about that. But it's fascinating again, I'm celebrating automotive and I'm celebrating manual transmissions. I'm celebrating all these, well-being folks, not insisting that I love electric cars. I'm celebrating the fact that we can buy a 1500 horsepower Corvette. I'm celebrating the fact that there's cars being made again, finally. And every single one of us, we're all giving up hope. Were you not?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the Corvette stats because when you said that with the Corvette and 0 to 60 and 1.6 and this, all I can picture is the dude in jorts in his chair at Cars and Coffee, except now he's going to have his stats board sitting in front of his car, just dying for you to talk to him because he so badly wants to flex about the superiority. When meanwhile, that car is going to, when you plug in the computer, it'll average speed over its entire life of 28 miles an hour, period.
Exactly. I'm sure
Not
you're right.
wrong.
There
You're
the
not
Cars and
wrong.
Coffee and back.
And it's good. Then they're going to start pounding out the special editions. Yeah, of course. Oh, hold on.
Pace car. We got to get a pace car edition.
But hold on. Isn't Porsche doing the same thing with all their crazy Sunderwich things that they're coming out with? I think they are.
It's okay. It's okay.
But what do you
It's
guys,
okay.
just for the sake of conversation, don't you think Porsche is a little bit asleep at the wheel with horsepower wise with regards to the RS cars?
That's why they
No,
got a
they're
new
doing.
CEO. They're trying to get all that shit sorted out now again.
Okay. I think that's the best answer. New CEO.
Let's wait till the GT2 RS comes out. Then I'm
Correct.
interested.
Well,
Correct.
for $1 million freaking dollars with all the ADM, it's going to be ridiculous. But so would an RS lose its appeal if all of a sudden it was high? Like my personal opinion is that electrification of cars, a hybrid car, is going to be the way that all performance cars will be made in the future because it's such a logical way to make more power. And people that have issues with it are the same people that had issues with turbochargers. Oh, it's not, or superchargers or all these other types of things that added horsepower to a normal motor. Electrification is just the latest iteration of what people have been doing forever. That's in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
Totally agree.
so
I agree.
if Porsche comes out with an RS that is a hybrid, maybe even a plug-in hybrid, what do you think? What's the reaction in the marketplace? What are people going to say? Because it has to happen.
I think
Well, I don't
they'll
know if it
embrace
needs to
it.
be.
I think they will. If it's purely a hybrid, if it's purely there to spin up turbos and things like that, I mean, not like and nothing at the drivetrain, but you know,
I don't think it'll
I
be
don't
a
know, it's my
plug-in.
opinion.
I don't think
No,
it'll
I
be a
don't think
plug-in.
so either.
Well, so my Ferrari 296, that's a rear-wheel drive. That's electric. It's a hybrid and it's a plug-in. I pretty much can guess that Porsche is going to do the same damn thing. The base motor on the motor without the electrification on our Ferrari is 670 horsepower, something crazy. It's nuts, whatever the hell it is. And the rest comes from the electric motor. Porsche is going to do the same damn thing. They have to,
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
you think the market, you think all the nerds are going to accept it, or you think there's going to all of a sudden be a surge in the hybrid RSs,
There'll
I
be
mean,
camps, people in both camps, of
I mean, the
course.
only thing is with the GT3, GT3 RS products, we haven't seen them turbocharged, and that would be the thing I would say. I wonder if that will cause more of a kerfuffle. That okay, the last naturally aspirated Porsche flat six sports car now has finally gone the way of turbo. Whereas basically every other 911 that's not doesn't have a GT3 on it is a turbocharged car. So that's, I think, going to be the biggest kind of, pushback from Porsche people.
Could they do
initially in the when they came out with the 991.2, which was obviously then turbocharged, there was a little bit of blowback, but I was one of the guys that had the naturally aspirated S, and I thought, oh my God, I've got one of the last of the great cars, and they're all going to be turbocharged, and nobody's going to want these turbocharged cars. It didn't happen at all.
Nope.
I mean, it was a little speed bump, and boom, people just boom, moved right on.
They're great cars. They're awesome, fun cars to drive. Can you make can you do a hybrid on a non-turbocharged engine? Why couldn't you?
I guess you could, but it seemed like turbocharged would be the first way to go, because you're going to add less, because the hybrid's going to add too much weight, and weight's going to be the enemy of it. So why not do the turbocharge and use the hybrid technology like they're doing in the GTS, where you're basically doing torque fill.
Right. Do you guys know about this new solid state battery technology that essentially is starting to come out? It was announced, there's manufacturers using it at CES. Do you guys know about the difference between the lithium?
They've been talking about it for a long time. I mean, that's the sort of the what everyone thinks is the next step in battery power.
Coffee, please.
Yeah. But just going back to the 991 thing, this was the funniest thing. The only people who care about the 991.1 being naturally aspirated versus the 991.2 and later being turbocharged is the guy selling the 991.1, because he always comes to me and goes, hey, it's the last naturally aspirated. I go, you're the only one who cares about that, not the buyer.
Do you really say that? Do you really say it like that?
I pet him. They're there.
We call it pretty kittying. That's what we call it, pretty kittying in our business. It's a little bit potentially ornery. Oh, pretty kitty. Otherwise, they're going to get their claws out. Yeah, exactly.
And I have the window sticker, and I have the this, and I have the that.
I think you're accurate about the dude with the ZR1X showing up at the Cars and Coffee with his freaking, his sign out that he spent all the time having made it. I'm sure you're right. That's hilarious.
Custom fits in the trunk underneath the rear hatch. It's custom. It's got to go in there. He's got to have his easel that goes with it. That's got to fit in the back as well.
Where it'll change is if Corvette actually tries to build a track culture around those cars that, like Porsche has, that Ferrari doesn't have, and the McLaren tried to have. So if they all of a sudden start putting a lot of special events that are sponsored by Corvette, where you can go to Coda or you can go to these other tracks and meet up with other, ZR1 owners, then you have something special, and if they do that, then all bets are off. All right, let's move on to the next segment. And I really like this one. Paul, thank you again for thinking this up. Your most memorable car project. What would you do differently? Pitfalls for our audience to watch out for, advice. I think I'll go last. You guys can duke it out. Who goes first?
Dave, you can go first.
Okay. Hopefully this will, I'll do my best to make this story as succinct as possible, because it's a very interesting, unique story. This is 2018, and I am pondering what I'm going to do next in life. And suddenly someone presents me with an opportunity to buy a 1978 911 Targa that's been wide bodied. And the story that I'm being told, and I can buy this car for $35,000. It's late 2017. The story I'm being told is that this car is a one of one, and it truly was a one of one car that had been built for a Gulf executive. And I found this out after doing my own research, pre M491. So this is 78. It's 6 years before you can actually order this. But if you had enough money over at Sunderwunsch, you could have them take a car and make it a turbo look car. So in 78, this is one and one only car. And oops, let me get this car up here. So there is the finished car, right? So, and you can see, cover this up here. If you're watching here on YouTube, you can see that it's a wide-bodied car. It's a Targa, which in and of itself makes it reasonably rare. But take a look at that rear wheel, and you can see that rear wheel is tucked in a good bit. And the reason for that is they didn't do like they did on the M491s. They literally just put a 2-inch wheel spacer on a
Wow.
stock suspension, so it didn't get the full trailing
Turbo.
arms for this car to turbo brakes or any of that. It's basically a Euro spec SC with a wide body kit on it. And I had
Wow.
pictures, the stuff I found to research to be sure that this car was the car I thought it was amazing. I had a picture of the guy who'd taken delivery of it, and he's in the Alps with this car with a pair of skis and a ski rack on the back, and it's this car, and you can tell it's this car. So I'm getting all this German paperwork, and I'm researching and trying to verify it because everyone I would talk to about it would say there's no way. There's no other car like this, that this was not something that happened, and they would poo-poo the whole thought of it. So I bought the car, I brought it in. It had been imported into the US in 1985. Uh, and it stayed with the same owner throughout that period. So when the car came in, it had rust in all the typical places, in those door jambs, at the back of the door jamb. The car was in Chicago, it was out of Chicago, and it needed a full redo. So here's Dave, just sold the company. What am I going to do next? So I spent this next year, all of 2018, up at another guy's shop, and we stripped this car down to bare metal and did a full-on restoration on this car. That's the car on a select bench, and there was rust in these corners back here, and the whole section on the right front of the car had to be cut out and replaced because it was all rusted and so on. And we did a pretty thorough, and I was involved, and this is kind of one of the reasons I got involved in the interior stuff, because the interior, this is it. This is the finished car with the interior. It has the green black tartan, the black watch tartan, and all the car had been modded so that all that had gone away. Somebody had just put black vinyl in here as the car got older and aged out of this 70s period. So I'm actually in the back of the car stripping, thinking we're going to have to redo these rear panels, and I'm stripping back the vinyl that had been covered, and lo and behold, the original tartan has been covered up by the vinyl underneath, and it was all there and all original. So that
So
part
wait,
was cool.
is that the original tartan then in that photo you left, or did you have
It
to
is
redo it?
not the original. We had to redo all that, but in the back, the original tartan existed. I just don't have a picture of that at the moment.
Oh, that's cool.
So this went on for a long time. The car came out beautiful. My objective, of course, was, at the time I wasn't looking for one to keep. I was thinking this was a car I was going to take to auction. And so this car I actually took down to a Sotheby's auction down in Florida at Fort Lauderdale. And this is probably sometime early 2019. And it's my first time ever trying to sell a car at auction. And what happened here was one of the things we've described before with the shill bids and stuff, the chandelier bidding and so on. This car was just in the wrong auction. It was a South Florida auction. There wasn't a bunch of Porsche enthusiasts there. It was a lot of other stuff that was in this auction, and I paid to ship it down. I paid the fees. I mean, I had a lot of fees to get this car sold, and it goes and rolls up on the block. There was not a soul interested in it. They gave me the boom, oh, boom, 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 boom. Oh, gee, sorry, it didn't hit reserve. They made the bidding kind of crap out over a little over $100,000, and it didn't go. They'd originally thought the car would sell for 160 to $185,000, and so I brought it back, and then a year later, I loved the car. I drove the car great with the rest of the world spec stuff on it. As far as the engine and whatnot, I thought it was a super peppy little SC, but I had to sell it. So I sold it to a guy. I probably had 100 in it. I sold it to a guy for $82,000 because I needed money to keep Sunderworks going, right? I just needed to sell the car. I was funding the business early on. So it got sold. Um, Doing that restoration and doing it that way and only having about 100 in this car total, keep in mind, this is 2018. So costs were way different pre-pandemic and costs were cheaper. And I was doing a lot of the grunt work on this. I was the guy sandblasting all the parts and doing all the deliveries for the plating and all that kind of stuff, doing what I could do. But, at the end of the day, this car later, it's changed hands 2 or 3 times subsequently. With the last time, I think at this point, it's been kind of proven that the provenance of this car exists. And I think it at least was being marketed at 180 grand. So it's a very cool piece. And I don't know where it ended up, but there's my restoration story.
Mm.
I can't do better than that. That's awesome.
It's a cool story. It
I
really
mean,
was a
that's
cool
automotive archaeology, which is always fun. My favorite part of restoring cars. That's awesome. You had to go find a bunch of weird parts. I'm going to ask you a bunch of nerd questions. So first of all, how handy are you? I didn't even realize you were much anything other than an operator. What do you know how to do?
Well, listen, I'm okay with tools. I can take stuff apart. I can bolt it back together. I can turn a wrench. I mean, I can do all that stuff, right? I mean, I have those capabilities at this stage. I don't like doing that anymore. I am interested in the interior bits and stuff, but I don't do any of that either. I like watching those transformations, but I could take any of these interior panels and certainly bolt them up in a car and put them in and put the door panels. The number of times, and Paul, I'm sure it's the same with you, the number of times you pull the door panel off a 911 to fix a bad window regulator or a
No,
motor. Not you. You don't do any of that shit.
no, I don't do. My philosophy is, why would I do something that I can pay someone else to do? No,
Fun,
thank you. No, thank
fun,
you.
enjoyment.
No, no, no. Zero enjoyment. What they say, first part of a problem is the meaning you have a problem. As a kid growing up, watching my dad work on cars, do basic oil changes, I learned all that stuff. I can do it. I maintain my race car. Zero enjoyment. I just sit. It's just I end up bleeding
Take a breath.
and
Take a breath. Step
I'm
back from the
hyperventilating.
mic. We get it.
But I think, Dave, you should be hosting a Project Cars Anonymous East Coast edition at your shop. I think
Right?
they
It's a
I
you
funny
wondered if
idea.
there was like a East Coast chapter when you mentioned this to me. I love this squirrel logo. We'll figure that
yeah,
out, right?
Well,
great
but so
logo.
so this car underside is all SC basically. Did you have and it had turbo flares on it. So did you have to replace the flares? Did you
Oh
like
no. And that was one of the things on the car as we were actually trying to do the research to figure out whether or not this car was legit, is going up underneath the car
uh
and looking at those welds to make sure these
well,
were
so
real factory welds.
our high nerd audience is going to want to know what you're talking about because there is a difference to describe to them how you can tell whether it's a factory installed. So these cars all started as narrow bodies,
Right.
even the
And
turbos.
they
There
would
never
go
was
go to Sunderwunsch and they would cut off
right.
those fenders and then they would graft on the bigger fenders, but they would do it in such a way that it was a beautifully pure weld line right along them.
Were they
And
doing
then
lead?
no, not there, but there's definitely lead in the car in the rear, in the quarter panels, up around the windshield area there, kind of near the back.
Let me
Um,
interject this too for interest's sake. So if you don't, you have to set that back flare on the car exactly right. Otherwise, it's too far this way or too far this way. And I've seen lots of cars, especially cars that were long hoods where people put ST flares on them and whatnot. And the rear wheels sit too far into I mean, you see this all the time, Paul, in your world.
It's doing flares is the hardest thing, and Dave, you know this because
sure.
you have all of these things. You have forward, back, tilt. I
Yep.
mean, look at this
Just the
car.
camber setup on the
Look,
car and so on, just
look
the
at
way
this
the
car.
wheels are set up.
They put turbo flares. Do you see what's wrong on this? It's a 73 911E. The turbo flare on the front is too low. They
That
welded
should
it
be
in
higher.
too
It should
low. So then
more
they
like a
had to,
shelf there almost. It should be up and
it
that
should
that
be,
that
yeah,
section should be
right, like yours. The top of the fender should just roll into the flare. And literally, as a result, they had to raise the front end to get everything to fit. So the car looked like it was doing, yeah, we'll get to
yeah.
mine in a bit. But yeah, it's flares. And here's the weird thing. I don't know if you've seen this. If you look at 73 RSs, real 73 RSs, and I was trying to look at it on the one we're going to talk about on Bring a Trailer Auction, for whatever reason, the right rear wheel on a 73 RS sits further in the wheel well than a left side, unlike all of the ones I've seen.
Well, hold that off because that's interesting. I didn't know about that. So let's talk about that when we talk about that
But
73
going
RS.
back to Dave's thing with the way that they did the flares, but they used the suspension from the SC, so they had to do spacers. By the way, Porsche did not stop doing that. They did that.
No.
You realize the 993 C2S is basically the same exact formula. It is a narrow body with flares with frickin', I don't know, 30 millimeter spacers to push the wheels out to fit in the
I
arches.
did not
Even
know
the
that. That's
turbo,
insane.
even a turbo 930 turbo still uses a big spacer, of course. But this thing, it's why these wheels tuck in a little bit on this picture behind me is because you couldn't get it far enough out with just the spacer that they had. I'm sure there was some issue with um, the forces on the axles and suspension and so on, where you'd bend it or do something along those lines. But that's as far out as they pushed it on this particular car. The other telltale sign that tipped us that this car was legit, in addition to the way I wish I had a picture of it because I got pictures of this car like crazy. The way that they would apply the black undercoating underneath the cars. They didn't, well, they did spray it, but they sprayed it on so heavily with like a big motion like this that on the inside of the fender, kind of here on the outer portion of the fender, it would drip down, and you'd have these drip marks that ran down inside of that fender, which was the way it was done from the factory. So when you saw it, and if it looked pretty or looked too pretty, it probably wasn't legit. But it was a neat experience. It was a very cool experience to go through and do all of the little bits and bobs and research on this car to bring it back.
And props to you for getting all the little details right. You didn't change the SC rings. I love how you have the squirters, rest of the world squirters. Yep. It looks really hot. Yep. Was that so? Of all the cars you've restored, is that the most challenging, or is that the one you remember with the most?
No, it's certainly not the most challenging. But if we want to talk about the fact that I literally had my hands in this one, which is versus the stuff we do here. I mean, we've done tons of cars here, and I mean, I'll tell you stories about having to remount fenders 4 times on a particular car. You want to talk about, a car that had been tweaked to begin with, and we were putting flares on it, and my guy in the body shop, the alignment was off on one, and we had to recut those and do them 3 times and repaint the car. I mean, that's the kind of horror story shit that nobody ever really knows about. But
we should talk about that in a future show. Honestly, sure. I don't know how many people would be interested in it, but I learned some of this shit the hard way. I bought a 73 original Tangerine car that had been made. I bought it from San Francisco after Car Week, and I knew buying it that the car had been hit. Okay, so I bring it down to John. I never get his name right, Paul. Esposito. Okay, and then I'm asking him to do a restoration on it, just make it just not into a nice car. And then he calls me up and he said this car's been hit. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, it's not square. And it drove fine, went down the road fine. All the steering wheel was fine. The wheels were fine. And then he showed me he'd put it on a jig and it had been hit so hard. I think it was the passenger side front. It actually had an adverse effect. I mean, you know all this, Dave. You live in this world. On the back of the freaking car on the opposite side. And the whole damn everything was just off, but you couldn't have, the guy disclosed it, but when driving it, you couldn't feel it. So I think it's important when people are choosing these projects, that's more than just, is it leaking oil? It's more than just it have some rock chips. When you go into an old car, it could very well have a bent box, a bent chassis.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to Paul.
Okay. So this is a category of how hard can it really be? And we all start projects that way. I have done really 2 projects. When I really got to know you, oh gosh, coming on 17 years ago, the 67S. That was the beginning of how hard could it be. This one really was deceiving because this one really looked like no big deal. So I fell in love with this car. It was brought to me on consignment from another dealer who couldn't sell it. Warning number 1. and it actually, once you've been around an original car that has not been really molested with, now you look at this car and you're like, holy cow, it didn't make it out of the 80s safely. Someone couldn't resist. So where this now what appealed to it was a 2-owner, numbers matching Orange County, Huntington Beach car that outside of these ugly flares that were put on it, and the stupid wheels, which are MSW wheels, which are knockoff BBS wheels. We used to call MSW wheels more shitty wheels. Basically, I mean, these are wheels that look like 3-piece, but they're not 3-piece. Like that kind of shitty. So, but all the glass, all the trim, all the deco. When you go to the interior, unrestored original, 70,000 miles, every document from new, and it drove really well. But what started it was, if you notice, this is a 73 911E, and as it happens a
E?
lot with it's an E with California
Yep.
cars. Guess what's missing? The mechanical fuel injection. And because what happens in California is passing emissions really hard. You had to pass emissions on a 73E all the way to 2003 because it was a rolling 30 year. So somewhere in the late 80s, didn't pass emissions. No one knew how to deal with the pumps. So what they did, what they do with all of them is they took them off and they threw on Webers. Passed fine. So I'm looking through the receipts. In the receipts, the mechanic goes, you could see a note. He suggests to the owner how cool it would be while they're fixing the engine to put flares on it because it's late 80s and that's what you frickin' do. So
Duh.
they weld on turbo flares. And as we just mentioned, they did not get the front turbo flare right. But look at this. It was a 73E, which by the way, E's were mostly ordered highly optioned because older people ordered them and they wanted all the goodies. But this one, if you notice something about the trim, Tim, you'll notice. What do you notice about the deco trim?
Hold on, I'm adding pictures. Sorry. It doesn't. Oh, it does it? No, it doesn't go all the way to the end of the fenders, does it?
Well, what do you notice about the fender, the trim?
I'm going to guess that it's not the right trim for the car,
It
but
is it is the right trim. It was ordered with non-S package. Like someone specifically ordered um base trim, the little thin trim, not the S trim. The only options this car had was full leather seats, beautiful full leather seats. So I'm sitting there looking at this project. I'm like, okay, so all we need to do is get rid of those flares, put some Fuchs on it, put an MFI on, and refinish the seats. The stitching's coming apart. So this project, just to give you scope, I bought this project in May of 2015 for $50,000.
A big number
It
in
was, but
2015.
don't forget, actually, it wasn't. 2015, you remember, Tim, 2015, we are in hog crazy, long hood, air cooled gluttony. Prices, to this day, prices still, I don't think, have surpassed what was happening in 2015. And I look at this going, May of 2015, we are, if you look at, we are in the apex of what's happening in, was it 16 that the market just deflates? And I'm thinking, oh, this will be 5 months. We'll finish it and we'll sell it and we'll make good money. So 5 months, I had it for 18 months. I sold it, I think, in November of 2017. The bottom fell out of that market. The only saving grace is I spent about $35,000 doing this because I put a lot of my time managing it and finding people. So instead of taking it to like the John Esposito's I went to him and I said, "Hey, how much is it to put stock flares on this thing?" And he laughed and he said 50,000 in metal work. So what I did
he didn't like
was,
you. He
no,
definitely
he
did not
liked
like
me.
you.
He,
Not for 50 grand. He didn't like you.
But so here's what I did. And I always tell people if you're willing to search, there's ways to do it. So I reached out. So going back to their fender conversation earlier in the podcast, I was debating, do I just buy new fenders and weld them on, or do I save them? So I had some really old school metal guys in the Porsche world look at it. And the thing about it is that car had never been apart. The gaps were freaking perfect. That car was so dry, so perfect. And at the end of the day, they said, look, if you can find the stock flares, and it's going to be probably a, because they said, look, if you buy the Dansk flares or whoever was selling it or the restoration or whatever it was, by the time you put it on and you're going to do metal work, you're going to have to fit and finish. You're going to be in the same boat anyway. If you can find some stock flares, cut these off right with a good metal guy and then weld in the flares. So I reached out and Ron, I don't know if you guys have met Ron at Aussie Sales. He bought all the parts from Aussie Dismantler. He's in, I think he's in the Midwest. He had
Ohio.
just done a 73E RS clone and he cut perfectly off. It was the same model, same year, cut him off, sent him. I found a metal guy who does hot rods and sand rails, talented genius out in like San Bernardino. And he came to my shop. He had a laser thing. We had like 6 or 7 unrestored original cars that he took laser things on, basically took cut the flares off. I then hired 2 guys that were old school metal guys to go out to San Bernardino with me. They were so impressed with this because he had them tacked up. He's like, okay, guys, before I really do it, like this is where they should be. They liked him so much that going back to don't tell people who your vendors are, they started using him for their metalwork and then he's out of business now because he's not a good business guy. He's actually working for Benton doing metal work. But anyway, so long story short, that car became that car.
Oh, there we go.
Now, so the other thing we did was we learned about silver paint. I will never paint a freaking metallic car again because we had to paint this car 3 times, which means we had to strip it down twice. And in California, painting a car a little more difficult. What I learned is silver, you have to use Porsche Metallics, a solvent-based paint. Glazer it, everyone goes, ooh, glazer it. I'm sorry. Like we did glazer. We shot so many different panels trying it out. PPG was the best in this case. And the other thing I learned was I had the metal guy disassemble it, a restoration guy disassemble it. I took it on a flatbed to the paint guy. I
Paul,
bought the paint for him.
let me jump in here because you said two things that are interesting. First of all, I want to let everyone know, because we can't assume everyone's high nerd like we are about this old car stuff, is that there are different types of flares, obviously turbo flares, SC flares, RS flares, but arguably on those cars, the only ones that look really right are the ST flares, in my opinion. But also, you also just said something interesting about paint, and Dave, this is a cue up for you. The problem with silver, any metallic, but silver in particular, is that in order to get, you have to, metallic paint literally has little, especially like that, has little chips in it that cause the reflection to happen. And if you paint the panels differently, which is often what you do on a 911, you paint the doors separately from the rest of the body from the hood, and then you put the silver back together. The reason that one of the panels will literally, and you got those in on a, especially on a short wheelbase car, the flares from the fenders really get, you screw with the light sometimes. When you look at the door will look too dark. So if you're looking at pictures and the door looks too dark, that might be why. But the moral of the story is getting all those little chips to lay the same. It depends on arts and crafts from the painter, the air pressure, freaking what the humidity is, whether the environment's perfectly controlled, how long the paint's been sitting before it gets sprayed. It's insane. Dave, am I missing anything?
Oh no, nothing. You got it. And the way that the orientation the door is hung,
Yep.
again, all that sort of stuff. And I will say honestly, we've had to repaint plenty of cars or pieces of cars. Metallics are really tough, and the silvers from this era as well never held
Silver.
up well. They just
Weren't they
just
one
completely
stage?
went away.
I don't think that, I don't think
No,
they were,
no, they were
they're two.
two-stage.
Okay.
In fact, here's the funny thing is when you look at this car still had the sticker. If you look in a Longhood 911, if you open up the driver door where the hinge is above it, there's a space. If it's still original, this one had it. There's a clear sticker that they stuck in there that says, warning, this is a 2-stage paint, and if you don't do whatever properly, it will fail. It was basically a hidden Easter egg, cover your ass story that Porsche knew that this paint was shit and it was going to go to shit no matter how well you took care of it, unless you put it in a freaking dark room and never turn the light on. But, so to add to this, and I wish I had pictures of the upholstery guy, I had video. So these seats were original leather, and the leather was beautiful. You know how leather wears in nice?
Sure.
But all the stitching, all the seams were coming apart. So Juan took, and by the way, this is another telltale sign of a good restoration. Do you see the pucker in the seat bottom where your butt goes? See that pucker?
Yeah, of course.
Most people,
Yeah.
like, you'll see a seat where they actually basically create a false pucker by making some indent. The reason that pucker exists is, and Dave knows this, there's string behind it pulling it down.
It's
And
called a
so
listing. That's what they call it. It's normally a piece of cloth, typically yay thick, maybe an inch or two thick, that is sewn into that seam right there and dangles down, and then you're grabbing that and pulling that down, kind of creating that pucker and creating the bulge in the cushion, so to speak. And then that piece of listing is then hog ringed, which is, think of little attachments that you close with what are called hog ring pliers around the bottom frame of the seat. And that's how you get that effect on both side bolsters as well as anything like that in the middle.
and and so by the way, when I'm looking at restorations, the first two things I look at is the seat pucker on a long hood and that front horn grill thing. And then that just sometimes turns me off. So what Juan did, Dave, is he took the seat off. He then had to redo the stuffing. And then what he did was behind every single stitch lengthwise going on the whole seat, had to put about an inch wide piece of leather to then have something to anchor the new stitching. So I really wanted to keep the original leather and just keep it from coming apart. And then using another really, I mean, just the number of people came out of the woodwork to help me. There's the engine, PMO carbs or no Weber carbs, just look gross. And then we found the whole MFI system, put it back on, got it. I mean, this was 2016, full MFI with the heat exchanger, everything was probably 12 grand back then. Today that would be 25 grand at least.
I just can't
This
believe he only spent 35 grand on this whole thing, like to do
I
the
spent
restoration.
spent on paint and body 12 grand. But don't
Jesus.
forget, I was running it around and I found guy. Here's the funny thing is when you find a guy who's just a talented metal guy who does hot rods and stuff out in the middle of nowhere, you're not paying the Porsche tax. Now,
Nope, definitely
granted,
not.
I think that's sort of gone away and he was getting his business started. But at the end of the day, I am so glad I saved the originality to it because that car drove so good. We ended up selling it in November of 17 for $116,000. And Tim, the stamp of approval was Dirk didn't know what was going on. I just showed him the end product because he had a client for the car and he loved you know how he picks everything apart. He could not pick everything apart. By the way, the wheels, I found a set of 15 by 6 wheels that were unrestored. So you got just that right anodized finish, the factory way with this, it's got like a
A little
soft
hazy.
anodized, a little
Yep,
hazy on the lip.
yep,
The lip's a little
yep.
different. I mean, I just obsessed about this car. I enjoyed it. But the thing was, yes, it was only $35,000. But if you took my time into account, I probably would have spent like 75,000 because I did a lot of the work, just managing the project, finding the parts,
Paul,
getting
for someone
everything.
who swears off projects, you sure speak with a lot of passion about that silver car.
I
So
was,
we're
but I
here
won't.
for you, brother. We're just going to listen as you tell your story. But clearly, you're ready.
Not enough there's just not enough money in it for all your time. That's the trouble. You can turn 4 or 5 cars and make similar money with a lot less hassle
Yep.
if you're not cutting them apart and having to do all that stuff. I mean,
And
so much can go wrong.
Dave hit it. It's the opportunity cost. I probably could have sold more cars while I was futzing around with this. And by the way, the Ed was not so excited about this as we're writing checks and I'm selling less cars, finishing my little, hubris project. But freaking awesome.
Came out
So,
great though. That's killer.
so projects of the past. I'll show you guys some of them, and I have many. I've used projects as hobbies, and obviously to distract myself from my normal thing. Of
How
course,
many
this
projects, Tim, do you think you've done? You're not a shop. You're not a business. This
I
is a
don't, he's the
hobby.
customer. He's the guy.
How many
He's the guy writing
projects
the
have you
checks with the
have you
visuals.
really started?
Honestly, I don't even know. Easily 20.
20?
20
Yeah.
easily. Yeah, easily. Well, so this would be the least project of all my projects, and David will tell you that was I'm sorry, a big project from his perspective. That's Albert. But I bought this car 90% done. But then when I got it, I'll just, the interior as it was, I bought that car sight unseen because I bought it from, I knew who the builder was, John Gunderson, and I knew who the people behind it were. Jay Lee did the motor and everything about it was top notch. And the interior, when I got the car, when we went out to California to see it, was a huge disappointment. And they totally misrepresented it. And I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. That's the reason that Dave ended up doing a lot of the work. But I'll tell you something. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. The dash starts looking funky. And I get this call from David. And he goes, Tim, there's Bondo in the dash underneath the leather. I'm going like, what? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, what the hell does a freaking replace? What would a dash have cost for them to put the right $130 or some Mickey Mouse and just put leather on it? I mean, I'd never seen anything like that before. But now after Sunderworks has had the car, it is freaking gorgeous inside, outside. These are old pictures before Dave did his thing. But that's a project. I'll show you the biggest project I'm working on now. I need to go to your thing. All right. This is insanity. This is a 1-for-1 FIA approved. I've talked about this on the show because I'm mostly just looking for people to tell me, Tim, it's going to be okay. So this aluminum body was done in England, and it's literally an exact 1-for-1, even down to the gauge of the alloy, 1955 550. Now, had I known, of course, how big of a project this was going to be, like originally the original 55, 54, and 55 550s at Race Le Mans, they had pushrod motors in them from 356s. Did you guys know that?
The early ones, right?
Yeah, they had pushrod, 356 motors, bug motors, basically. And then they started putting these four cams in it. That one's a 547-1 four cam that I had made in Denmark by Peter Iverson. That's, basically some new old stock, but mostly brand new parts that were made by, what's the name of the company? They're now making their own car. Anyway, so that motor is a 4 cam. That's an example of something that, project creep. We got this thing. It took, Peter a year to build it. It finally arrives at customs 2 days or 3 days after the freaking tariffs got put in place, and all of a sudden the motor costs 20% more, and I get the invoice for it, and it's just like, shut up and pay it. All right. So anyway, this is one of my projects. This is supposed to be done this year. I talked with Wade Lewis, who's helping me put it together. He's in Kentucky. He's built these before. His thing was building these. He built, he's a great guy. I really like him. In any event, so that's a project. As far as fun projects, I made that one as a,
Oh, I like that one.
yeah, isn't that awesome? So that's a T25 Vanagon. Now I bought this from Bring a Trailer. It's 60,000 or 63,000 miles. It's a Karat. If you're just listening. And so this one, I sent it out to Stefan's Auto House, and he put an APR modified 250 horsepower 1.8T in it. We took the automatic out, put a manual transmission. I sourced all the parts from Germany for the suspension. It's not a raised up Dakar looking freaking, high boy. Basically it's supposed to be a GT van. And so that's one of my projects. Here's another one. I told you I have a problem.
Holy cow.
That's a 76 Scirocco. And this is a Scirocco that I had a Scirocco, and that is a 3.2 liter VR6 out of a Cayenne. Okay. And so,
Wow.
this thing makes monster horsepower. And
Wait, going back to the Scirocco, what was the weight difference between that motor and the motor that came out of it? Did it add a lot of weight?
I had no idea. It had a 2 liter 16 valve in it when I bought it. Again, I'm just saying it as it is. I bought that from Bring a Trailer. The guy had painted it Carrera, GT silver. The paint wasn't good. We were just talking about silver. The fuel injectors he didn't even have any of the freaking O-rings in it. So I said, oh my gosh, I should have had it checked out first. I didn't. And I sent it to, what's that guy in North Carolina? David, help me remember his name.
For what?
Shit. The guy, he does a lot of Cayennes now, hot rod Cayennes.
Mike, no, at your
Mike,
life.
no. All right, so Mike restored that car, and it took him 2 or 3 years. I was in no particular rush. It's got a real Zender Z1 body kit on it. Mine had a replica one back in the 80s, real BBSRS, the whole thing. So he gets this thing done, and then all of a sudden he starts getting calls from all these European enthusiast magazines. And so it's been featured in 3 or 4 magazines. I mean, I could go on and on with projects. I don't remember what the original question was.
What you actually, Tim, you and Dave should definitely hold a Project Cars
I'm not
Anonymous
done.
meeting.
This is the one that brought
yeah.
Paul and I. Okay, this is my 67S. I bought this car originally from Magnus Walker. Just leave it there, and then basically restored it. And that was an experience in itself. This car was last for seen, and Paul actually this passed through Paul.
I tried to sell it.
Yeah, tried to sell it. But this is a gorgeous car. I personally would love to buy this thing back. Slate gray, red interior. It doesn't have a 2 liter. It's got a 2.3 liter in it, but everything about it is basically as perfect as I could possibly make it.
It's not numbers matching, but 29 numbers off or something.
No, like 3 or 4 numbers.
3 or 4 numbers off, which, by the way, like they say, unless it's Parcheesi or hand grenades, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just crazy though. But I had so that was a project that was just a massive passive. It was a hobby basically. So, as far as I know, the assignment was to pick a car to restore. But David and I sort of talked about our past sins, and so did you. But there it is. So if I are doing another, I won't do another rest. I shouldn't say that. I know I will. I'm lying. But like,
by the way, that's step 4, like overcoming denial.
But right there, that. In my opinion, a 550 I'm sure very few people agree with me, is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Proportionally, it's just about perfect. I've never driven one, so I might be massively disappointed when it arrives.
No, you'll love it.
I hope they will.
I agree with you, Tim. That is what really was my my taproot, or whatever you want to call it, for where I am today, is my replica Spider. You will love driving it, because it'll be interesting when that's done and you have the RYN Motors F3 car, because they're kind of like they're half a century apart. They're the same idea, and what I like to call 30-minute cars. No, they're not even like that. Those are just not the same. You'll love the 550 Spider. I'm just very curious to see that four cam experience because I've never driven a four cam car.
Have you, David? Have you ever driven a four cam?
I've not. No, I had not.
I haven't either. I mean, this is how much I'm trusting other people, and I hope I'm not disappointed. So far, so good. You know, it's worth mentioning when you're doing a restoration, try to choose pedigreed people because it makes a difference, you know, obviously in getting the project done, but it also makes a difference when you put it for sale. I mean, Peter Iverson restored a motor. He does motors for Cam Ingram. He did motors for the Porsche's grandson that you're friends with, Paul. He does, you know, so yeah. So when you're doing it, he did one for a 904 that the family owns, and it's all new. Unicorn, not Unicorn, the Capricorn. That's the company that makes the replacement four cam motor parts over in Germany. So in any of that, those are my stories of woe. But if I had to do it, I'll tell you what I'm really passionate about right now. And I haven't asked you to do this yet, Paul, but I'm really, really interested in that 1970, that Viper Green that European Collectibles has, the 73 or the 70S. I know you've already warned me off that one, but that car for the right money seems like it might be a good, you know, lightweight project. That's all that.
Lightweight. That's step 6, you know, underestimating, what do they call it? Scope creep.
Yeah, exactly. All right. You guys want to go on to segment 4?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. This or that. Pick one car project from an auction site that will decide who picks the best one out of a group picks. Best in class, best is in the lowest entry price. Oh, these were my questions. Best in terms of perception of the cool factor. And I will go last.
Oh, then Paul's got to go first because there's no way I got to go first.
So a couple years ago, we sold a beautiful 67 911 soft window Targa non-S in polo red. It is one of these most memorable driving experiences where suddenly now I want a soft window Targa short wheelbase. If you haven't driven a short wheelbase 911, there's something really special about them. And driving a soft window Targa with the roof on and the back thing flopped down, where you just hear these induction noises and stuff you never hear in a long hood because you got glass and steel. And I have yet to get that out of my head. But the problem with that car I had was it was too nice and I would feel guilty. So this car is a 60. I found this on Bring a Trailer. It sold, and correct me wrong, guys, it sold in February of 21 for 58,500 as a non-running project. True numbers matching soft window Targa, kind of a barn find, California, found in a barn in California, literally. Let me see if I find, yeah, that's where it was stored for, I don't know, 40 years. It was kind of a low mileage car. It had its nicks and dings and scratches. I think you could see the right front fender up at the very front is kind of caved in a bit. There's the condition of the motor. It is numbers matching. It looks a little ratty, as in rats have lived in it. The
That
interior
looks pretty good though.
It does.
Yeah,
All the parts are there. All the hard to get parts are on the car.
and I went through the whole listing. The only rust that really is problematic, which in the end isn't bad. The rockers seem to be fine. There's a hole in the floor. Putting a floor in is a lot easier than putting the rockers in. The front pan actually looks okay. My idea with this project. So by the way, 58,500 for this back then. I honestly think today, because of what we talked about with the long hood market being soft, I think it would sell for less money today. I think that was the beginning of COVID. I think this
You
project
really think
would
so,
sell.
Paul? You think
I
that
think it would
car's
sell
worth
in,
less? Wow.
I think it'd sell 40. I think
In
just
that
based
condition,
on
I
my,
would agree. Absolutely.
Wow. I had no idea.
I think people are just afraid of projects. They want anything that even smells like a project. And
Do you remember what those were selling for, Kramer, back in the day? And not that long ago?
in 2014, this would have been 75 to 100 grand for as is.
Restored. What were the soft window?
Yeah, soft
Well,
window.
so the soft window Targa we sold 2 years ago, that was the same car. It was literally the same car, polo red, but it was restored really well to the point where before I took it on, I had Dirk look at it and he gave his thumbs up. It was so nice. Everything nailed right. It was a very, very good, tight restoration. We sold that car for 180 grand 2 years ago.
So they were selling for double than that back
Don't
when
forget, this is a non-S. This is a non-S.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the S's were selling in the mid 300s and some of them were going into the
Yeah,
400s for a really nicely restored 67S. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about this is I look at this project going, I think it would sell for less today, but going on 58.5, I would rebuild the engine to a 2.2 high compression motor keep the Webers. I would leave the paint alone, not touch the body, redo the suspension. I would freshen parts of the interior, probably the carpet, maybe the carpet, but really just the seats. Put some good seats in, maybe some reproduction non-headrest sports seats with some Pepita. The red, the white, black Pepita. I would almost try to ask you, Dave, how do we make the Pepita look old without stained, like worn? Like, yeah, basically, I wouldn't do the red bolsters, but I would do the Pepita like Tim has on his 67S. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think I could do this project for 85 grand on top of the purchase price. Rebuild the
Yeah,
motor,
I think you can do that. Yeah, as
rebuild
long
the
as it doesn't need a ton of
transmission.
metal work. I
Yeah,
mean, if
you
it doesn't
could.
need a ton of metal work, you could,
Yeah.
sure.
I think all I would do is the floor and we would coat it. I would not do fenders. I wouldn't take a dent out. I mean, just look at that patina on the front. I mean, and then what I would do is drive the living piss out of this car. I would take it on rallies. I would drive it to hill country, um, guilt free. And by the way, oh, Tim, get this. Do you recognize the wheels?
I was wondering
They are 67, 4.5 inch, really rare wheels. All five of them date stamped. That someone early in its life thought that they would paint them black, and actually, I like them like this better. I would leave those wheels alone. So there's my project.
I love it.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
mean, we probably don't even need to see yours. I won.
Yeah, maybe. All right, well, so I'll go next actually, David. So
Fair enough.
as far as project cars go, I wouldn't go to that extent, though I love the idea of especially keeping it kind of ratty. But believe it or not, I mean, my BMW that was my intention. By the way, David, don't you think I haven't noted the fact that you haven't emailed me back expressing interest in helping me with that one?
Helping you with the upholstery on that one, which is like out of my drop zone, but that's okay.
Okay, well, so that's I got that from Bring a Trailer. I might have a Bring a Trailer problem, as many of us do, and so I want to restore this car, and I want to restore it. Just don't want to make it super nice. It already is pretty nice. It's probably honestly a 6.5 out of 10. I'm going to bring that car up to a 9 out of 10, and that's going to be the extent. So I'm showing a customer built Alpina B6. It doesn't have a B6 motor in it. It's got a hot rod motor in it, and everything about it's essentially Alpina, with the exception of the gearing, the transmission, and the motor. That's a dream car for me. It's an E21. I think they're gorgeous, and a really nice Alpina B6 that's essentially a 10 out of 10. Those cars are now $150,000 to $200,000. I got 48,000 in this one. I'm not sure how much it would cost for me to restore it. I think the paint and interior, assuming there's nothing major with the mechanicals, I could probably get it done for, I don't know. What do you guys think? 30 grand?
So, but wait.
With the paint. So, I mean, how much of the car are you painting? The whole thing?
Whole car. Yeah. The previous owner painted it, but there's fish eyes in it. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe those could be nibbed out and
Color
wet sanded
sanded?
out. So
Yeah. Good. So
But
my big,
if it's got fish
my
eyes,
biggest
that's
thing
no
when I
good.
saw this when I saw this picture was the door. Does the door fit right?
Probably not. I think it's
Okay.
actually been just for I'm pretty sure the car's been, when I take the battery out, I can see that there was some sheet metal work, not in the structure of the car, but some sheet metal work that was done. So it could be I think maybe I just didn't close the door all the way. Actually, this is the previous owner's picture, but so who knows? Honestly, you don't know until you get into them.
That's not a project though. I mean, here's the thing: is I know you bought it already from the auction site, but to me that smells like a done car. You just want to make it better.
Yeah, well, I'm not getting into a project again. That's too much of an addiction. Like this was my other one, and I knew you guys would hate it. But this 964 Speedster, that one's mostly done too. The wheels are the wrong. I mean, the wheels I like, but they didn't come that way. And there were some, finicky things on that I would do just for fun. And it's got miles on it. And that car, I think, sold for like 160 grand. That would be a fun project car in my mind. But doing a redo, I'm not up for that.
I think I should have defined the instruction it has to have in the auction listing the word project.
Or the word rat or feces.
Right.
Or storage. All right. Well,
That's what I did to find mine.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. This is I don't know what there is about these. And this is one of those things. It's like Paul's always looking for drivers. For some reason, I'm always looking for some kind of RV. Maybe it's like my age, or I feel like I'm ready to go across America and I want to do
Put
some.
your picture up, Dave.
Oh, I'm going to put my picture up. There we
There we
go.
go. Hold on.
There we go. That's it right there. There is it. There it is. A
There is
19,
something really cool about that design, as ugly as it is.
but it's so 70s. It's so killer.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I know. That was the vehicle they were driving through theoretical Germany or whatever they were in the
So
movie.
it's a GMC, right?
Correct. It's a GMC 26-foot RV. I'm sure it has a name and all this other stuff. And I was looking at all this and trying to figure out what was what. But I just thought this vehicle was the ultimate Thunderworks road trip. Excuse me, not Thunderworks. Full Throttle Talk road trip vehicle.
Uh,
So take a look. Look at this interior. Look at this. Tell me that's not
Oh,
grandma's couch right there from
uh,
1973.
dude, blue
is
light
that?
that blue light that. Can you imagine the things you'd see?
Oh,
Oh,
I,
It only
I
had
feel like
60,000 miles on it though.
I feel like I can smell cat urine from here.
and marijuana. I mean, it lived through the 80s, so some cocaine too.
It needs to be disinfected for sure, but I would leave it just like that. And I would probably it's got a 455 in it, I think, carbureted. It uses a Toronado front wheel drive setup, which I wasn't aware of. I mean, that's what it lists in the BAT description. And Paul, these things seem to be all over California, so you probably see them all the time, or there's probably some shop out there that does nothing but does these things, right?
I can't imagine because I look at that, and if you want to make that Tim Nice project, that is going to be 100 grand of just interior, and
Oh,
then
I
you want
wouldn't
to.
touch the interior. I'd leave
No,
it
I
alone.
know.
Have you
Hey,
guys ever
I got
been in an
people.
RV?
I can
Have
do
you
it
guys
for
ever done
way
the
less than 100 grand.
Yeah,
There's nothing
I've camped.
sophisticated.
I've
But
camped in an RV at Laguna Seca for historics for
Okay, that's
the
different. But have you actually done what he's talking about in an RV? Where
no.
so I have, and we rented one, and let me tell you, the RVs you could make that into $1 million best of the best. But the problem with RVs is you have to go to these things called RV parks, and an RV park is awful because then you talk to your neighbor on both sides about things like gray water, and then you're forced into conversations and you're invited to all kinds of things that you don't want to even know exist as far as what they're doing that night. God bless RV parks and whatnot, but RVs are cool until you actually have to go and put water in it and clean out the septic system and all the rest of it. That's all I have to say
well,
about it.
that's but this car sold not even a year ago for $7,000.
Oh,
So as a bargain, there's the basis right there. And you don't paint it. No, you don't spend any time on that. You just probably end up spending $10,000 to put a full wrap on the thing, full throttle talk up and down all over the place.
You'd have to
What a
get
killer.
shots before you sat on one of those seats.
yeah.
No, we would disinfect the thing. We would completely disinfect
No,
it. It would be fine.
I'm
Cleaning,
pretty sure
scrubbing,
you're
maybe
getting
pull the carpet.
hepatitis.
Yeah, you're getting all
Well,
kinds of shit. You're getting
I don't
stuff
know.
that
I think
Fauci
it's
wants to send to China to have, Ovda Yulong to have basically modified.
So whatever happened to Dave? Well, he bought an RV and
he bought
he's
a,
been
bought a
sick ever
73
since.
RV.
All right, let's
He's
go
in
on. Let's
he's
go
in
on
a
to
bubble.
Though I think actually if we have to choose one, I would look at Paul. Look at Paul. Okay, you guys vote. You can't vote for yours. So who did the best?
Yeah, I can't
Oh,
vote for mine.
yours.
Damn it.
I'll vote for Dave's because yours isn't a project, Tim. He did it in the spirit of the event. But so
I,
Tim,
I would choose yours, and the only thing I would do different than what you proposed is I would put wider wheels and tires on the back, like 7Rs, replica 7Rs, just to save the bazillions of dollars that the real ones cost.
Tim, have you ever driven a short wheelbase 911 on 165s? Which is what the tires these came with, 165s,
Yes,
not 185s.
yes.
Awesome.
Magnus's car, yeah, had sixes on it when I bought it. But you're talking about on the
No,
four
no.
and a half inch wheels,
So the 4.5 wheel,
right?
the 4.5 Fuke
Super
came with
tall.
a six, came with a 165 R15, which was probably an 85 series tire. So a lot of sidewall, like you said. It's the same overall rolling diameter as a 185 70, 205 65, or 60. But I think if you drive a short wheelbase on 165s, talk about that is really the true definition of slow car fast, in my opinion.
Well,
And
what you're trying to express, and the reason that these driving these old cars are so exhilarating is because they dance around. So they
Yes.
bounce around, and especially when you go into corners, they actually you're so present. Like people love when people say I love driving, it's because you're present. It's almost like a form of meditation. For a lot of people, racing is the same way. And when I'm on the racetrack, it's like tunnel vision. Well, when you're driving an old car, especially one that you have to constantly be monitoring, that is the same thing. You cannot be worrying or thinking about anything else. That's what's so hypnotic about it, which I think is the reason people love it so much. Let's move
Yeah.
on to segment 5. This one's very
Well,
interesting.
Paul wins. I didn't get my vote, but I pick his car too.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I knew you were going to say that one too.
Well, I
Because
had
you
to.
were,
We did one. We did one of these. We were involved in the interior restoration of one of these, and when it's all done, that soft rear window and just that whole Targa vibe of that car is really cool, especially in polo red. I did like it in polo red. I think it's a good car. You'll spend a ton more money on that to get that going again, though, Paul. That won't go for 60 grand. You'll spend more than that.
No, 85. My budget
85.
is
Okay.
85 grand. Don't touch the body. Only thing on the body, well, don't no paint, no body, just put a new floor in. That's all I could find that was like safety wise structural.
the funny thing is the damn parts on this car are worth more, even back in when this sold, are worth more than what the car sold for, or damn near.
Yeah. I mean those wheels are worth, I don't know, 6 to 10 grand for the
For
wheels.
sure. And the decos are accurate and all this stupid little bumper overriders and the grill. I mean, all these things. All right, let's move on. This is the last topic for today, I believe, unless you guys want to get to some questions we had. But this one is
No.
a 73 RS. Let's just go through this really quick. Let me set it up. And if I get any details wrong, you guys correct me. This one, I think, had the entire Porsche world raising their eyebrow, not quite understanding what was going on. This was a 73 RS. It was a real 73 RS. It started out as a touring. It was originally sepia brown,
Sepia.
sepia brown. Sorry, it's not numbers matching. Someone made it into a 2.9 liter, and the car was a no sale at 301. And I'll tip it off by saying I think he should have sold it at that price. Okay, you guys go.
Well, I think the
Paul, you
reason
go
he didn't
first.
sell it, I think the reason he didn't sell at that price wasn't there recently like $150,000 repair bill, which I wanted to see since Dave's in that world. It seemed like that repair bill was generously padded for auction's sake. That was my
Hmm,
gut feeling.
hmm,
Like maybe
Interesting.
they said, okay, hey, I need an invoice for this. Make it look rich, make it look thick. Like I really, because it just, I don't know what it was. And I think because I don't know if I think the seller was fortunately genuinely naive and ignorant. I think though, when you get past it, there was someone else behind there who knew what they were because there was a whole kerfuffle about, that's twice I used the word kerfuffle, is
Engine stamp.
is the engine stamp. And if you look at this engine stamp, I think it was supposed to be a 66 as the first two digits, and someone stamped 88 or vice versa. And there was this whole debate over why, and that was, and as you get deeper in the auction, what happened was, and it goes back to running a proper auction, the seller was not ready for this. And his ignorance and maybe some replies of just, hey, it is what it is, doesn't fly on a collector grade car. And as a result, he poked the wrong bears. And some of the big, you know, maybe they rightly know because they know, like Wayne Dempsey from Pelican Parts and Mark Allen
Yep.
with Vintage Excellence, they said stuff that was not right, and that just opened up the floodgates. And I think that auction was doomed from like day two,
Yep.
basically.
The minute that somebody starts challenging on one of these cars, one of 1,500, and they start challenging the stamps or they wanted to, can you pull the knee pad and show me the stamping on the underbody and so on like that. And by the time people start throwing even the slightest amount of doubt onto authenticity, it's over. And you're not
Well,
going to get the big money. I mean,
here's
we've
what
seen that time and time again.
here's what was interesting to me about this. I was going to use this, Paul, for your previous question with regards to a project car. But what I didn't realize until I started looking was what these things are actually selling for as, let's say, fully restored numbers matching cars. A touring, not a special, of all the RS series. Those cars are in the mid 600s. So even if you were to buy, I just looked on
No,
classic.
mid 600s buys you. The way I tell people, if you're going to buy a real 73 RS, and you don't buy a budget one, because the cost to make a budget one good. So like the ones that are 600 are drivers. And even if, and most of the time, people who buy these cars, they want great. They don't want a driver. So to give you an idea, remember that chartreuse one that I said just sold?
Well,
That was
but Paul, don't bounce off that so fast. So I went onto classic.com, which I know is your go-to source, and you can pull it up too. And it said the average sale price for the 73S in the last 12 months is $653,000. I don't remember the change. And so you could, and I'm not disagreeing with you, you're the expert, but you could very well say that was just a bunch of doggy cars that came to market in the last 12 months. But even at that, those are legitimate comps. And so it's going to pull the overall market down. And my point is there's not enough meat on the bone for someone to buy it and restore it.
I agree. I agree in the end. Even if you, let's say he sold it for 300 to make that car right, not 150. I'm thinking 250 to 300 easily, if not more. Because I mean, I'll bet you anything that deck lid isn't correct. I don't know. How do you find a 73 RS deck lid with the aluminum? That the more you peel the layers of the onion back, I was like, I'd rather have a nice hot rod. Forget this.
You can. There's a company in England that makes the alloy deck lids with the ducktails. Our Albert has one. It's alloy, and all the bumpers are metal too. So you can get it remade. But you're right; they're astronomically expensive. So if someone were to have, you guys know that you can still. I can't say this for sure, but back when I was restoring our 67S, I got offered cases that were unstamped. That Porsche either, I don't know the whole story behind the unstamped case thing, but I know for a fact you could buy an unstamped 7R case. Someone could have found the original case. And then I also know at least 2 people in Southern California that had the original dies for stamping the engine number back in. So someone could have found the original case, stamped the original VIN number back in, and then, that would have immediately put more value on the car. But I mean, so as far as what this thing was actually worth, I mean, do you guys think that was a fair price, or do you think it was? I mean, the seller thought it was worth more. What's your take?
Well, it's got way more in it, but I just think personally that that's just the absolute wrong venue for that car. It should never. I mean, it's absolutely branded from here on out because of the amount of eyeballs that were on that car. Whatever that VIN number is, it'll be a lookup forever. It's always going to drag that car's value down. The guy probably, he probably thinks it's a $500,000 car.
That makes total sense, David. So if that car were for sale at like a non-Monterey, because Monterey auctions, they wouldn't sell that car. But let's say that's at Gooding or something like that, and they're in Florida, they're Amelia Island. That's be a good venue for that thing. What's it worth at an auction like that? Had it not been on bat,
300.
I still think it probably, I'd
really.
say
So the same money.
Still,
so
it tops out.
That guy, like Dave said, that guy is foolish not for selling it, because now, good luck.
But had it not had the VIN history because it was on bat, it had just been this is the first time it's been for sale, sketchy history. All of a sudden it shows up at Gooding at Amelia Island. You still think 300?
Well, first of all, any auction that's going to take this car on that you want it to be at, like a Gooding or an RM, it's going to be no reserve. They're going to look at it and go, sure. It's going to be no reserve. And I think that
regardless of value, normally that's a $250,000 number. If the car's worth more than that, they'll sell it with reserve. But that one, with all the stories, that's the problem. It's just got too many stories.
Way too many. This car, sadly, I mean, I think it is a fun car. I think it may be value-wise, even if, let's just say, someone goes nuts and restores it to the best it possibly can, the most original, finds all the right parts, just goes absolutely nuts. They would be foolish to do it because it's going to have this scarlet letter anchor always yanking on it and pulling it down. And I would say that's going to cost it 20, 30, 40% of the value throughout the rest of its existence, sadly.
That's incredible. Yeah. We've had a lot of people commenting about that whole legacy of the bring a trailer and the easy of it's not just bring a trailer where you can look up a VIN number. You could have done that if it's been listed anywhere, because all listing sites, be it classics.com, require you to drop the VIN number in, and they verify it too before you're allowed to run the ad, right?
Yeah, which is why it's really hard to find. We have our VIN number hidden on our website. It's really hard to find. Most of our cars sell before we have to put them to the general public. And part of the reason of that is, one, for fraud, but I always tell people it's to protect the seller and the buyer, because the buyer's car is invisible. And eventually, nothing's a forever car. They'll go to sell it, and it'll be nice to, when you go to Google the VIN, you pick any of our VINs, you Google them, nothing shows up. That car, for the most part, never existed. And the more you can keep it that way, it really preserves the value of the car. It preserves from people making false claims who don't even know the car
You're
and the
just
value.
saying you're saying something super important because we got criticized wrongfully for saying because people didn't understand your point. We're not saying not disclose the history of the car and be sneaky. What we're suggesting is that when you get a bunch of half-wit naysayers that are dumping on a car on a public site like Bring a Trailer, and someone searches the VIN number and then reads all the comments, even if 90% of the comments are right, they're accurate, the 10% are the ones that are going to be the Damoclean sword hanging over the history of that car for the rest of its life. I mean, that's really the downside to it. It's the comments. It's not the disclosure of the history.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
yeah.
I agree with that.
I kind of feel sad for the car. I really do.
Me too. And sepia, thank you, brown would have been actually kind of cool. Yeah, it would. So listen.
It's come back for sure. All the browns have come back now. So if you've got a car that was originally brown, bring it back.
That's right. Yeah. Bring brown back better. Oh, you made it political, David. Why'd you go and do that? So
I did no such thing.
So listen, make sure you're subscribed to Full Throttle Talk. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe. Leave a pithy comment. Let us know. Look, guys, we love your suggestions. We have actually quite a few little comments that we didn't get to. If you have any suggestions on show topics, anything you want more of or less than, just whatever ideas you have. If you even want to submit articles for our Full Throttle Talk newsletter, guess what? Chances are we're going to say yes. Let's build the community around Full Throttle Talk. We are high nerd. This is a podcast for high nerds. There's nothing that we're not going to drill down on. We're going to talk about all the real specific things that everyone else just maybe they don't know to talk about it, but it's what we're interested in, and we know that you're interested in it as well. So support our little community. Hey guys, you have a great week.
You too.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.